Interpretation Services. Buenas noches, damas y caballeros. Esta noche estamos proveyendo los servicios de interpretación al español en simultáneo. Si quisiera escuchar esta información en español esta noche, por favor acérquese al escenario donde se encuentran los maletines negros para recibir el equipo. Gracias.
Muchas gracias. We're live? Okay. All right. Bienvenidos, Kush Amadin, and welcome to the Governing Board meeting of the Mount Diablo Unified School District, October 27th, 2021. Call this meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. We will begin with roll call and then Pledge of Allegiance, and we have a special opening ceremony by some Riverview students and their families. So beginning here with roll call, Vice President Mason.
Here.
Trustee Mayo.
Here.
Trustee Fowler.
Here.
Trustee McFerrin.
Here.
Trustee Nzewi here. I'm also present, so we are all accounted for, and let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. And with that, I would like to welcome, I'm so thrilled and excited to welcome tonight the Big Valley Pomo dancers who are here. It's two of our Riverview students and their families who are honoring us with an opening ceremony this evening.
Hello. Hi, my name is Marilyn Ellis, and we come from Lake County, Clear Lake. We're Pomo dancers, and we're proud to be here with you guys to show some of you our traditions that we have. You know, we come here to honor my grandkids that come to school here, and we're very thankful for you guys inviting us here. We'll be coming out shortly. Oh. world. We just don't pray for our own time. We pray for everybody. We pray for the birds, the water, you know, everything. But everything here on earth is alive. You know, that's what's keeping us here. You know, one of our main prayers that we've been praying for is the sickness, that COVID, for it to go away. You know, it's a scary thing. It's scary, you know, and we come and we pray for people. Say, oh, after we get done dancing.
Oh.
It's just like another form of saying amen when you're in church, but we say, oh.
Oh. Hey, oh, yo, kaje, hey, oh, hi, oh, kaje, hey, oh, hi, oh, kaje, hey. Yo, yo, kaje, hey, oh, hi, oh, kaje, hey, oh, hi, oh, kaje, hey. Yo,
Okay, everybody, we're gonna take the dancers home, and we would like to say thank you guys for inviting us to let us come show you guys some of our style of dancing, our culture that we continue to carry, and continue to teach our children. And like I said again, thank you guys. Oh.
Oh, and thank you so, so much.
Hey,
Thank you so very much to the Big Valley Pomo dancers, and especially to Miss Candace Sanapa, who offered this opportunity. So thank you very, very much. And and along with that, we have a land recognition. We recognize that the Mount Diablo Unified School District sits on the territory of the Confederated Villages of Lisjan, the ancestral and unceded land of the Bay Miwok and Northern Yokut, the successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Contra Costa County. As members of the MDUSD community, it is vitally important that we not only recognize the history of the land on which we learn, but also we recognize that the land we inhabit and learn on is the ancestral land of these people who are alive and flourishing members of MDUSD and broader Bay Area communities today. So thank you so much. We will take a short break for a moment here while they reset up the podium, and we'll resume in just a few minutes. Thank you. Okay, I think we're all set. Thank you so much, everyone. And now we will continue with the agenda. One more thing I did want to say that this evening we will be closing this meeting in honor of Manuel Pineda, whose unexpected, it's the unexpected passing of one of our high school students just last week. Manuel Pineda was a long-term resident of Bay Point and attended our schools for many years. Manny will be deeply missed, and our deepest condolences go to his family, friends, and community. All right, so next we have item 6.2, review and potential approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda at this time?
Would you like to move the board reports to the end of the agenda?
If that is all right with the trustees, yes? Okay, board
And-
reports moved to the end?
And I have one too, Madam President.
Yes,
18.2, the increased substitute teacher pay, although that would provide much relief. We've been asked by our labor partners to remove this item until we can have further discussion.
okay, so removing item 18.2.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion on the agenda?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with those two changes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, a motion by trustee Mason, second by trustee Mayo. I suppose we can vote on this electronically, is that right? If this is working. All right, so it was with the moving 13.1 to the end and removing item 18.2. And motion by trustee Mason, second by trustee Mayo. Shall we do this by a voice vote? Okay. Okay, Now our technology is up and running. All right. Oh, and we don't have trustee Fowler on the electronic agenda yet. So voice vote. Trustee Fowler.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. And with that, the motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you. Okay. So report out action taken in closed session. 7.1 negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives regarding represented employees pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The board received information and provided direction. Item 7.2, there was no item under 7.2. And item 7.3, the vote was 5-0 to admit student B22 to the Mount Diablo Unified School District. With that, we move to public comment. Public may address the board regarding any item within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education of the Mount Diablo Unified School District that is not on this agenda. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes each, or a total of 30 minutes for all speakers, or the 3-minute limit may be shortened. If there are multiple speakers on any one subject, the public comment period may be moved to the end of the meeting. Speakers are not allowed to yield their time. For those of you who might be new to this, we on the board cannot engage in discussion with a public comment since the rest of the public was not notified of that topic ahead of time as an agenda item. So please understand we carefully listen to your comment, but we will generally not respond other than to ask a clarifying question. Staff may follow up and the topic can be added to a future board agenda if needed. So how many public comments do we have? Vice President Mason. Okay, so we have 12, so the 3-minute time limit is fine. So we will begin with Judith Richards, followed by April Saldivar.
Now you can hear me? Great. Just if I knew I was going to get 3 minutes, I would have written longer. Well, hello, board members, Dr. Clark. My name is Judith Richards. I'm a 2nd grade teacher at Valhalla Elementary School. I'm in my 16th year in the district. That's right, Felicia. 16 years ago, she hired me. Doesn't seem that long. When you needed more summer school teachers this year, you upped the pay from $37 to $50 an hour so that you could get sufficient teachers. Right now, we are in desperate need of special education assistance. So we're offering a hiring bonus of $1,500 if they complete the year with us. And you were, and probably in the future, going to vote for the 2nd time within just a few months, to boost the pay of our substitute teachers, to be competitive with other districts, and to be able to have enough substitute teachers. I agree with all these necessary pay increases. We need to pay the going rate if you expect to get people to want to come to this district and stay in this district. We all know there's a teacher shortage. It's throughout the country, it's throughout California, throughout the Bay Area, and our county. On EdJoin, you look and there are dozens of unfulfilled teacher positions. They've been there since the beginning of the year. No one qualified is applying. There's no one there to take those positions. And let's be honest, the current job market, you're not going to be able to get all those teachers. You just aren't. There just aren't the applicants. Knowing this, your #1 job should be trying to retain the employees that you have, the ones who are already here. We don't want to see our newer teachers fleeing to other districts. We don't want our veteran teachers taking early retirement because we will not have people to replace them. But the current contract and what you're offering is giving them little incentive to stay. Please tell your negotiating team to stop the disrespectful penny ante offers. That's what they are. And the foot dragging. It's time for the district to step up immediately and make a serious financial offer. This isn't a game. It's time for you to do the right thing. You need to honor the employees that are already here because we're going to have a hard time getting employees if we can't even keep the ones we have. Thank you.
Good evening. Is this? Hello? I'll bend over. My name is April Saldivar. I'm a kindergarten teacher at Shore Acres Elementary in Bay Point. I was also born and raised here in MDOSD. Are you happy? And so it's been, when I was able to begin working as a teacher here in the district, it was awesome. I was so excited to be serving the community that I was raised in. It's sad to see what's going on right now, that we're losing teachers, that teachers' hearts are broken right now, putting so much into their classrooms and their student families and their students, and to be so disrespected by the district. Students can't become the best place, or schools can't become the best places for students to learn and grow unless we make them the best places for teachers to work and grow. And right now, MDUSD is not that place. We have 3 rules at our school: be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. Right now, teachers don't feel respected by the district. The offers and the contract negotiations, it feels like teachers aren't cared about, that we can be do away with if we don't like it. Be responsible. Please, I urge you to direct the district to be transparent and thorough with their finances. Ask them to see the financial, the numbers, and be safe. In my classroom right now, we don't have a working water fountain. The other kindergarten classroom doesn't have a water fountain that works. My students have to get cups and use the sink for water. We also know there's a supply issue and that drinks aren't being delivered to our school. Most of the days this week, we didn't have milk or water for our students, so they were drinking from the sink. I urge you to tell the district to be responsible, be safe, and be respectful with our teachers and our students. Thank you.
My microphone seems to not be working. So next is Alyssa Juarez, followed by Patricia Hamachi.
All right. I've never had this much time. I don't even know what to do with myself. My name is Alyssa Juarez. I'm a district-wide librarian at Bel Air, Mountain View, and Westwood Elementaries this year. So today you're supposed to get an insight into our financial situation, but this new perspective does not excuse the fact that the district has not offered anything more to its employees in terms of a raise. We are owed at the very least 5.5%. Some time ago, someone used a household budget to explain parts of the district budget to you, so I'll do the same. Let's say you wanted to buy a subscription, but it costs $500 a year. So you make some hard sacrifices to budget enough to afford it, and then the pandemic hits, and you decide, not knowing the future, to hold on to the $500 just in case. But then the government kindly gives you several COVID stimulus checks that cover above and beyond what you might need. And while you can't use it to buy your subscription, you can use it for many other things, meaning you still have that extra $500 each year. Now here we are, almost 2 years later. Well, if you never got to buy that subscription, then isn't the money still there for you to purchase the subscription now? So I don't understand why we haven't directed the district to offer the 5.5% with a promise that when you guys have a better grasp of your true financial position, that you would be ready to offer us more. And if that money is gone, don't you wonder where that money went to? You are dangerously close to losing employees to other districts that are paying better, offer better benefits, or simply show that they respect their teachers. And I don't say that as a threat, but simply to remind you of the reality of our current situation. No one wants to come to or stay in a district that continually disrespects its employees. And the teacher shortage means that teachers now have options, including those of us like myself that are closing in on 20 years. If I go to a different district that offers me full benefits I may break even come salary, even if their salary isn't as quite as much. So you're looking at losing your veteran teachers and people that have given you 10, 15, 20 years of their life in this district. And I am a product of MDOC. I went through Concord High. Same as April, I was really happy to be here. I loved MDOC. I had a great time and I really valued my education here. But I know that I don't feel respected. And so I can't imagine that my fellow colleagues feel respected. So I would just say, let's make sure that our teachers this year that we have, that they opt to stay here, because of course our students deserve the best. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. All right, Patricia Hamachi, followed by Lily Lum.
Thank you. Good evening. I want to echo what has been shared. As I look around the staff meetings, as we're having discussions of how we can support our students, you look around and in our check-ins, people are sharing the disrespect they feel, the lack of appreciation, when for so many years, and I work at Shore Acres with April, so many years, I have veteran teachers who have been working there almost their whole careers. And their dedication to the community that we serve, to the families, to the students, they cannot imagine working somewhere else until this year. They are heartbroken, as am I, because when we put up forth so much work during this time in the pandemic and even before to help our students achieve, and now to be told that the offer is 0% for this year, when this year is just putting more and more on our plate as teachers. Our students have come back from the pandemic into our classrooms with not just academic challenges, with challenges with their emotions, with being able to talk to one another. Things that we've never seen before are happening, and we are being asked to be the leaders, to be able to help our students. And yet we are getting nothing in return. We're asking for help, we're asking for resources, but they're so limited. And so when we show up every day, when we're working hard and trying our best, and we get told and we get shown by the action of 0% raise for this year, it's just heartbreaking. And moving forward, we need to retain our employees that we have now, because in the profession of teaching, the best PD are those veteran teachers who talk to you, show you how to do things. And when those people are gone, if they leave us, what is our future? What is longevity of what we can learn from them? We won't have those opportunities to grow. And our communities that have seen those teachers there for years and years and years, and all of a sudden they're gone because they felt so disrespected, it's going to make such an impact in our community. So I urge you, please listen to the teachers that are here tonight and who have been speaking to you during this process. Please show us with action that we are appreciated, that we are valued, and give us the raise that we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily Lum, followed by Marianne Johnson.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Clark. I am Lily Lum, high school nurse for Mount Olympic Alliance and Crossroads High School. Registered nurse and nurse practitioner for 45 years, 31 years as a credentialed school nurse. I retired from the San Francisco Health Department part-time so I could increase my time for the district and pursue my passion, which is school nursing. These are some of the tasks I completed in a single morning in 3.5 hours. Met with student A, new diabetic student who came to my attention only last week. We have no orders, no plan of care during the school day, no information on whether the student is independent or needs nursing assistance at school, no 504 in place, no emergency plan or supplies. This is just one of over 1,000 medical history forms that I went through at work and at home this past week. Email to therapists and psychologists for student B, who is significantly overweight, has IEP for emotionally disturbed status, and newly identified sleep disorder, who has never worn glasses and just tested 20/80/20/60, where the vision was normal in the previous screens. Single parents still not responding to me after 3 phone messages. Urgent phone consultation from the secretary at my other school regarding student C. New insulin dependent diabetic with IEP does not test blood sugar at home, only at school, and blood sugar is now greater than 350. Has a history of deliberately mismanaging insulin involving multiple hospitalizations. Diabetic care providers are relying on the school's daily blood test results to manage care since the home provides no blood sugar data. Student no longer wearing the prescribed continuous glucose monitor, so must test blood glucose manually. We only have 1 test strip left at school, despite multiple messages to the home I made in the past week. Secretary has been advised to keep calling parent. I reinforce care plan orders with the secretary on treating elevated high blood sugars. Single widowed father, mother deceased 5 years ago from cancer. Grandmother helps out, but lives 2 hours away. To be continued.
I'm Mary Ann Johnson, one of the credentialed school nurses, and I'm continuing Lily's day. Screen students D and E for hearing and vision. Morning. For upcoming overdue triennials. Urgent nurse consultation requested for student F assaulted on campus by other students with potential head injuries due to multiple blows to the head. I still do not have current orders for 8+ students with severe allergies requiring emergency epinephrine. Who will follow up with students A, B, C, D, E, and F? Me, us, credentialed school nurses. This is in no way an atypical day. This is the way my days go from start to finish. I still have not completed my documentation for those tasks last week. I'm hoping these examples will help give you a picture of why our time is so crucial on site and why it is challenging for school staff to understand our professional responsibilities. Credentialed school nurses are the public health safeguards for MDUSD and the first line responders to students' acute and chronic physical and mental health problems. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mary Ann. Susan Daines, followed by Christy Merrick.
Good evening, Dr. Clark, President Khan, and the other board members. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. As a school nurse, I've seen healthcare procedures and health needs increase significantly over the last 5 years. We need to address healthcare needs now as well as project for future needs. Let's consider some data. The number of students with type 1 diabetes in our district has increased from 29 in 2016 to 72 in 2021. This trajectory means we need to plan now and take appropriate action. More healthcare needs mean more nurses will be needed. Please help us keep our students safe. Secondly, our lead nurse is extraordinary. Unfortunately, she is leaving the district for significantly higher salary, where they have a separate salary schedule for nurses. MDUSD should do everything possible to retain her. She is leaving for the higher salary. Please find a way to keep our lead nurse. California Ed Code 49427 A reads, "It is the intent of the legislature that the governing board of each school district and each county superintendent of schools maintain fundamental school health services at a level that is adequate to accomplish all of the following. 1, preserve pupils' ability to learn. 2, fulfill existing state requirements and policies regarding pupils' health. 3, contain healthcare costs through preventative programs and education. And B, the legislature finds and declares that the provision of these services may be in jeopardy due to the current caseloads in the public schools, and that failure to maintain adequate health services and standards will result in pupils' poor health and ability to learn." I plead with you, please make the healthcare needs of this district a priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Christy Merrick, followed by Linda Ortega.
One second, sorry. It's good. Oh, wait, no, it started. Hold on, bring it back. Good evening. I'll speak faster. My name is Christina Merrick. I'm one of the credentialed school nurses in the district. This is my 11th year. I stood here 2 weeks ago where the nurses begged for additional funding as part of ESSER funding or any other type of funding to support healthcare staffing during this global public health pandemic, because we are buckling underneath the immense pressure. In the last 2 weeks, 2 of our school nurses have given their notice to quit, as well as one of our district LVNs. So 3 nurses now down this year. Last time I was here, we had the school nurses had covered over 170 out of job classifications for SEAs and LVNs for healthcare procedures. We are now over 229 procedures, rather assignments. That's an assignment. An assignment could be multiple students that are being served at any one time, sometimes at multiple schools. That's not just individual students. We were notified last week that admin wonder what we do, and I'll let you know, we drown. That's what we do. We are drowning while we're trying to support the healthcare needs of students. We are currently at 14 FTE, and in the year 2010-2011 school year, we had approximately 9.6 FTE. But also at that point, we had 22 students that had healthcare procedures that we oversaw. Those students fit on a single piece of paper as we try to arrange coverage for all of their students and all of their needs. This year, that number of student healthcare needs is almost a 5-fold increase since then, at almost 100 students that have healthcare procedures that need staffing. This is unmanageable. This is a list of all of our students. They are previously in 2010 fit on one single piece of paper. This is the exact same format, just with all of our additional students and all of their healthcare needs. This is unmanageable. It's unsustainable, as you can see by people leaving our district. We have been coming to our administrators and the school board for years now to notify you that we need more school nurses and district LVN positions to be created and need to hire more SEAs. We are in dire need of supporting student healthcare needs in our district. And we either need it from some level of funding to address this. We just had some nurses reading ed code regarding the level of healthcare services that need to be maintained in the district. And so we need that, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Linda Ortega, followed by Deborah Sproul.
First of all, I just want to say I'm so very proud of the members who spoke tonight, because I know many of our members would have loved to be here tonight, but they're very exhausted. We know we're all experiencing some shortages, but as in my position, I hear this often. I get phone calls. I get frantic phone calls. This is an emergency. And I often have to, I have to walk them off the ledge because many of them want to leave. And I know that this is a profession they've come into and they love. So let me just start off by saying good evening, President Count, school board members, Dr. Clark, and members of the audience. My name is Linda Ortega. I'm the Medea Vice President. I'm here this evening to remind you, the school board, that our members have not seen a raise since 2017. Although they continue to show up and educate and support our students every day, they are extremely exhausted and not feel like they're valued. I hear often, as I mentioned, from our members, I hear them, they call me, they text me, they email me through the night. I can't do this anymore. And I say, hang in there. Yes, you can. Take a breath. We can do this. They are being pressured. They are being bullied. They are being forced. They feel like they don't have any choice. They don't feel like they have any support. And some of you have been receiving some of those emails as well. So what our members are asking is to value their work, value the work they're doing. They love their students or else they wouldn't be here. And it just grieves me to hear that one of our lead nurse is leaving. She is wonderful. But then what's going to happen when she's gone? So I want to encourage you to honor your previous commitment and to show our members that you do value the work, because I know I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah Sproul, followed by Karen Jenkins.
Hi, I'm Deborah Sproul. I'm one of the school nurses. I'm going to read a statement from one of the other nurses who couldn't be here tonight. So good evening. My name is Monique Rizzo, and I am a school nurse for MDUSD. I started at MDUSD last year during the pandemic. I came from John Muir Hospital in Community Health, hoping to have a more direct impact on students' lives and create positive health outcomes. At John Muir Health, company policy was all about patient safety. One nurse to a maximum of 4 patients, period. I want to raise a safety concern with the district. At this time, we do not have enough district school nurses, LVNs, and SEA3s to safely care for students with specialized healthcare needs. Since August, I have had to personally leave my school site 12 different times to cover other hired persons' positions and school sites. Each time I was deployed to a site, I did not know the school, the staff, the classroom, the student, layout of the room, or where the student's healthcare supplies were kept. This situation is not safe for the student or nurse performing the procedure, as well as not consistent for the student. One of the students that I have covered that requires catheterization, which is very private and personal, has had at least 4 to 5 different nurses since the start of the school year. Here are just a few of the specialized healthcare procedures that the district nurses, LVNs, and SEAs provide. Diabetic care and supervision, G-tube feeding, tracheotomy suctioning, catheterization, medication pushes and G-tubes and toileting. No two students are the same with their healthcare needs or disease processes. For example, students with diabetes can be stable or extremely volatile, needing constant supervision. Students with catheterization needs need to be anatomically easy to cath, can be very difficult. Students with G-tube feeds can be straightforward or complicated depending on the type of feeding pump, number of feeds per day, formula constitution, and medication push, and of course, student tolerance. Each healthcare procedure requires a different equipment and one cannot simply just cover a staffing opening. It's extremely more complicated than that. Again, it's not safe for the student or RN covering for that other person's position. I would like to leave you with my last example of something that came up last week. On Monday, I got a call from an SDC teacher at one of my school sites. She asked if I heard that she was getting a new student tomorrow on Tuesday. I said I had heard nothing. I had to make several phone calls to immediately scramble to get all the details of the student needing specialized healthcare at that site to make sure that they could start school safely the next day. I found out that this student required wheelchair management, G-tube feeding with a pump, formula, proration, and toileting. I was able to schedule a meeting with all the staff members and parent for the next day for G-tube feeding and training and address the needs for the student in the classroom. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen Jenkins, followed by Eliza Sellinger.
Thank you, Superintendent and board members, and especially our student board member. My name is Karen Jenkins. I've taught English, journalism, creative writing, French at Northgate for the last 20 years, and I absolutely love my career. I attended Mount Diablo Unified School District K through 12, and so have my 3 children, with my 3rd and final daughter graduating this year. Yay. I came here from a neighboring district in 2002, losing my health coverage or the pay differential, and also taking a slight pay cut. Around 2008 in this district, I was one of many teachers who took voluntary furlough days to help this district make ends meet. I helped start a music education foundation when this district cut music for 5 years. I defended this district from a parents group, including friends and acquaintances, and even some former friends now who wanted to take Northgate and the feeder schools out of this district and create their own. Tomorrow I'll be meeting with an equity and diversity task force, a new group that has started here. I was one of 20% on my campus who worked 4 afternoons a week in person last spring for optional school, and it meant I was one of about 40% who worked at least 2 afternoons a week. My kids have gone through these schools, as I mentioned. They've had 93 different teachers in this district. I actually counted it up one day in a meeting, including 60 teachers in high school alone. And I wish I had enough time to speak to their quality as people and as educators and to the impact they've made in the lives of my children. I've lost count of the new teachers I've mentored to have them leave through the revolving door for more pay and better benefits. I realize people have different career paths, but I can't help but feel in too many ways, we are a training ground and not the destination district that we have said that we want to be. I don't pretend to be a financial analyst, but I trust the experts on both sides of the negotiation table to talk in good faith. The district I left to the east of us offers 1 step across and 1 step down on their salary schedule. They offer a brand new teacher with 45 units, about $4,000 more to start with. And they offer a 60-unit teacher just starting out, also about $4,000 more, and a top level teacher, $5,000 more, up to year 31, as opposed to year 25. Not that I'm going to be working that long, but just a point of fact. So on behalf of my children's 93 teachers and every teacher here in this room, every teacher in the district, and even our future teachers, we're asking you to instruct your representatives to negotiate a meaningful and fair contract. Thank you.
Eliza Sellinger.
Eliza, yes, you got it. Thank you. Good evening, board members and Dr. Clark. I am Eliza DeBianca Sellinger, daughter of a retired MDUSD educator, mother of 2 MDUSD students, a product of and a current hardworking teacher at Northgate High School. Indeed, this district has touched my life, but my faith in MDUSD is waning. Let me tell you of one of my students who is tenacious and defying stereotypes as we speak. I want to continue holding high expectations for him, all the while scaffolding so he can soar. However, it's harder and harder to do so. Teachers are tired. We are tired of people thanking us for our Herculean efforts, but not paying us a raise to keep up with the cost of living. The student I spoke of needs a good teacher, but you get what you pay for, and our salary is not competitive with surrounding areas. Dr. Clark, last year, over a Walnut Acres Zoom meeting, you said something to the effect, I don't know if it was exactly like this, but we're in the business of students, we're not in the business of teachers. But I with all due respect, I beg to differ. If we are in the business of students, then we are absolutely in the business of teachers. We look to you to affirm and value our craft. We are not martyrs. I take pride in my job. I am not a martyr. We are educators. Pay us our worth and help restore my faith in this district that previously has done a great job for myself and my family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that concludes public comment. Okay, moving on to 9.1 district organizations. Do we have any speakers for district organizations? Don't think we have any cards under there. Okay. All right, that takes us to 10.0 recognitions and resolutions. 10.1 review and potential approval of resolution 2122-24, recognizing November as Native American Heritage Month.
Great, thank you very much, President Cowan. So tonight I come to the board with resolution 21/22-24, Native American Heritage Month. Whereas this country was home to generations of Native people long before the arrival of European explorers, and each of these tribes had a unique and vibrant culture as well as a system of social order. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mount Diablo Unified School District proclaims the month of November as Native American Heritage Month and encourages all schools to commemorate this occasion with appropriate instructional materials, and be it further resolved that this resolution be distributed to all schools within the district. President Cowan, I now put this item in the hands of the board.
Thank you very much. And once again, I do want to thank the Big Valley Pomo dancers for coming to open our meeting this evening. Do we have a motion on this agenda, on this item?
I move that we approve resolution 2122-24, recognizing November as Native American Heritage Month.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion by trustee Nzewi, second by trustee Fowler. Any discussion on this item? You do? Trustee Fowler.
I got this from online, but I just wanted to read it out loud. And it said, this month is a time to celebrate rich and diverse cultures, traditions, and histories, and to acknowledge the important contributions of Native people. But I felt like that was an understatement. I felt that we need to do more than acknowledge it, but we need to also speak on behalf of them and educate other people on why this is important for other people to understand and how they feel as well. And then I'm still educating myself today in a great way. I'm educating myself is through social media, surprisingly. And I follow this one Instagram account. It's called the Indigenous Peoples Movement, where I've learned many things, such as brands that don't support Indigenous people. They've posted stuff like how to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, such as like visit a reservation or museum, attend or host an educational event, make Thanksgiving dinner more educational. It's not always what Christopher Columbus did. It was what Native Americans were doing. Also, just reading the work of Native authors, I thought that was very, very interesting as well. And I think we need to implement that into school as well. And with Halloween coming up, I do want to point out that Native Americans' culture is in a costume, and we should all be respectful of that. So I'm extremely happy, and the performance was amazing. And I myself would like to learn more about their culture and would like to know how to support them. And that's something we all need to do ourselves.
Thank you, trustee Fowler. Any other discussion? Trustee Nzewi?
Yeah, thank you, trustee Fowler, especially for the resources. I just want to really appreciate President Khan for in this today, just really demonstrating inclusiveness. It's because of her that we were so treated and blessed with the performers that we had. I wish that they were here to hear the thanks because it was so moving. They weren't European explorers, they were European colonizers who turned into the descendants of those colonizers who did everything possible to steal not only the land, but the language, culture, religion of of North and South American indigenous people. And I really hope that this November, as we recognize this month as Native American Heritage, that we don't hear any stories of ridiculous lessons around Thanksgiving and Native Americans in our district. So, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Nzewi. Any other discussion on this item? Okay, we'll take it to a vote. Trustee Fowler.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and the rest of us are electronic here. Okay, and just on the electronic record, I see the motion was Trustee Nzewi and did you need the second? The second was Trustee Fowler. Great, thank you. Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much. All right, that takes us to item 10.2, review and potential approval of Board Resolution 2122-32 for personnel with provisional internship permits.
Yes, I'm going to have Dr. Rubio handle 10.2 and 10.3.
Good evening, board members. As you know, the CTC allows us to provide additional time for our employees to get through their subject matter competence for internship programs. And we have before you tonight one individual who does qualify for that.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move that the board approve provisional internship permits.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Trustee McFerrin, second by Trustee Mayo. Any discussion? We'll take it to a vote. Trustee Fowler.
Yes.
And the electronic vote is in. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you. Item 10.3, review and potential approval of Board Resolution 2122-34 to authorize local assignment options EC 44263.
Thank you again. We have before you tonight for your review and approval, one individual who works for us who does qualify with enough units to be able to teach in another area, and we're asking for you to consider and approve that tonight.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
Madam President, I move that the board approve resolution 21/22-34, local assignment option EC 44263.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Trustee Mayo, second by Trustee McFerrin. We'll take that to a vote. Trustee Feller.
Yes.
Thank you. And the electronic vote is 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that concludes our reports, and board member reports was moved to the end. I'm sorry, I skipped ahead here. Okay, item 11.0, there is nothing under that. So item 12.0 is reports and information. So 12.1 is 2010 Measure C Bond Program Update Report to the Board of Education. Dr. Clark.
Yep, so we're going to hear an update on Measure C, and I believe that Ms. Coslow is going to provide that update for us as she's approaching the podium.
Good evening, board, Dr. Clark, members of the audience. I'm pleased to be here tonight to give a long-awaited update on where we stand with the 2010 Measure C bond. So this presentation will include an update on the remaining funds as well as a proposed project list and just some overall information. So just to sort of take it back for our community and obviously newer board members that weren't here at this time, I just want to do a quick rundown of where we have been since the spring of 2018. So in 2018, staff brought a presentation to the board that held about $47 million, which was funds that were within the bond. However, they were held in contingency. So for those of, for the community that is not aware, when we program out a bond, we always maintain certain funds in contingency, and then we reevaluate later. So that's what we did at this point, knowing that Measure C was coming to an end. The projects that were originally identified had been completed. We reevaluated project contingency and we ended up with about $47 million. I will say this presentation came forward right before I rejoined the district. So a lot of this was information that I researched myself and then have heard from other staff. And obviously all of this is on our board docket. So at that time, in February of 2018, after identifying immediate needs, the list that is listed here was brought forward. So board approved a project list identifying the values there, 1.87 for district fields, 1.75 for district-wide fencing at our most immediate needs schools, exterior landscape projects for $450,000, which included more like front of school or interior issues, or we're having drainage issues because of the current landscape. And elementary hardscape repairs, which was quite a bit, $3.72 million, which was very helpful to our elementary school sites. Concord High received $200,000 for an access road out to their school fields, as well as we had $10 million identified in our summer roofing project program that sort of started at late 2017 and has been going on yearly since. HVAC in the tech rooms, we had $423,000. High school tennis courts for Concord College Park Northgate at 2.8, and then Cambridge Elementary School received $500,000, and that was for not only being able to remove the rented adult literacy program, but also move the music classroom to the back of campus where it could be more contained and safer for our students. So with that list, we started moving forward on projects. We came back to the board in June of 18 with the long-awaited budget for our food and nutrition service warehouse. And again, those were some presentations that took place over, late 2017, early 2018. And for those of you who haven't seen it yet, we have a beautiful new food and nutrition warehouse, and we'd love for you to come out and visit if you haven't seen it. Whoops. Carrying over into December of 2018, we decided that we needed some additional funds for Cambridge Elementary, which the board did approve. So that was an additional $200,000, which allowed us to go to a permanent building structure at that campus instead of moving or re-renting. And so when we looked at how much the district was spending for rental, it just made perfect sense, and they have a beautiful new building. We also came forward with an additional $10.5 million for the 2019 summer roofing projects. High school tennis courts, which rounded out the rest of our high schools with Mount Diablo High, as well as Ignacio Valley High School. College Park pool replastering project was identified, a budget for that of $400,000. Where am I going? Bleachers, I'm missing one, sorry. College Park and YV High School track replacement. So that was their synthetic tracks for $600,000. Mount Diablo High School bleachers, home bleachers that were a safety issue, and they had been, deemed unsafe. And so we did work there. Oak Grove Middle School and Mount Diablo High School landscape projects, again, going back to that safety item where we were causing drainage issues through the campus. And then we also added 2019 exterior painting projects. And then once more, we came back in April of 19 where we added the purchasing warehouse roof project, totaling out about $47 million. So where that leaves us now. So all of the projects that we've identified, with a couple exemptions, which I'll take you through on the next slide, we end up where we have some funds left over, and sort of where those funds come from are a little bit of carryover money, and then also some money that was paid back to the bond. So our Prop 39 energy projects that were approved by, under Prop 39, we had front loaded some of those projects that met our application through Measure C. And so what that means is that 2.8 and some change $million was re-entered the bond because we had prepaid them through the bond. Health and safety projects, we have about almost $1.7 million of other funding that's coming back into the bond. And then we have some project carryover. And so where we get that is, 6.7 million, it's quite a bit. So one of the things that I will say is that, when we're budgeting out projects, sometimes we're off, sometimes things come in a little less than expected. And so one of the big savers that we had is, if you remember on a previous slide, we had $2.2 million identified at Mount Diablo High School for those bleachers. They came in far, far, far under that. So we received over $1 million, I think it was like 1.4 million in savings there, that goes right back into the bond. And so we do have, different projects like that. Some projects went over budget a tiny bit, others came in under. And so from that plan that we brought forward starting in 2018, we have 6.7 million of unspent dollars. The 2.6 million in carryover was actually projects that were identified earlier in the original project. And when we go through and do our financial assessment, we have some funds that were identified that should have been included in that 47 million that we came to the board with in 2018. And then we do have a holding account for funds for Clayton Valley Charter High School. As we know, all of our high schools received bond funds. And so that money is being held for them. It's like 1.448. So, rounding up to 1.45. So where that leaves us is, including that holding, which I will sort of speak about in a few minutes, is we have $15.3 million left in Measure C. And so where we are with that is we have a project that is moving forward. Currently, the design is complete and it's getting ready to go out for bid, which is that College Park pool replastering project. So that's why it's got a star, because it's not a new project. You've seen that project. You've already approved that project. 650,000 budgeted for the Rio Vista Elementary campus to add that security fencing, like we've done at a few of our most vulnerable schools. So that money is already there. So a little bit over $1 million of what we have is projects that you guys have already seen. So I just wanted to put that asterisk so that you were aware those are projects that the board has already approved. And then where we're looking at the rest of what we would like to recommend as projects for the rest of the funds would be continuing our exterior painting project. Staff has identified that Bel Air Elementary, Valverde Elementary, and Ignacio Valley High School are in need of exterior painting. This does not mean that we don't have other sites that are also in need. This is just what's up next from staff assessment. We have been completing exterior painting the last several years, way back before my time. Some of you may remember District Paint Shop did paint exterior campuses. However, that's long been gone. We have, had much larger staff at that time. And so we did so many schools this summer. And since all of that sort of change in the way that our staff changed, we started having to either go out for support from an outside vendor in order to get these projects done. So those are the 3 sites that we've identified. However, we do have a list of ongoing. We hope that we can continue that exterior painting beyond this coming summer, should the board approve. 2022 summer roofing projects. So typically we try to keep roofing down between like $10 to $10.5 million a year. One of the sites that we have identified that is in dire need is Ignacio Valley High School. And as we know, that's quite a large campus. So our expected budget for that's a little bit higher. So we're looking at $11.5 million in need for Highlands Elementary, Westwood Elementary, El Dorado, Pine Hollow, and Ignacio Valley. So once those 5 campuses, assuming board approves, are complete, so those are 5 campuses, we have 10 additional campuses on next in line that would take us for 2 additional years, which we can look at with current additional future funding. And then once those 2 years are done, every campus has been done with the exception of the Dent Center. And then final operating costs, which includes, FTE by staff that is funded under the bond, soft costs, services and open contracts that we currently have that might be ongoing, contingencies, and final closeout and DSA certification. We've got 2.15. So that equals 15, plus $1 million. I do want to identify though, that since the presentation was posted, staff has sort of reevaluated, and it was just something that I overlooked prior. I should not have, or we should have identified that some of the roofing will need to be from another funding source so that we can keep that holding funds for Clayton Valley Charter High School. So we would look at about $1.5 million funded either from, Measure A or Measure J, which we would bring back to the board for approval. Anticipated timeline. So College Park High School, as I mentioned, that pool resurfacing project is ready to bid. Security fencing for Rio Vista Elementary would be a winter design, a spring bid, and a summer construction. Exterior painting would also be a winter design, spring bid, summer construction. And then the roof projects are actually just about ready to go because we've sort of front loaded this to be an annual project, assuming funds were identified. And so the best time to bid roofing projects that we've found, not only within our own district, but also, speaking with other districts, is that we do that winter bid to be able to identify our contract for summer construction. Roofing during the summer, especially in school sites, is absolutely crazy. And so we would definitely want to bid that as soon as possible. So that we could meet our summer construction timeline. And then anticipated construction closeout for those projects would be somewhere about a year from now. So substantially complete before school starts in August of next year. And then, we have time, there is time needed for manufacturers, inspections, closeout, all those requirements. We want to make sure that all of our services are working, because one thing that we do find is sometimes having a vendor on site can cause issue with some other services. And so, the contractor's responsible for all of that. So we sort of see how things go in early fall so that before we close them out, we have all of that identified. So with that said, I know it was sort of a lot of information, but I'm definitely here for any questions or anything like that.
Thank you very much. Trustees, questions? No questions?
Okay.
Trustee Mayo?
I want to thank you for providing the clarification about Clayton Valley Charter, because I was going to ask if it was in that $15.3 million. And the credit for the project carryover is thanks to this hard work of staff like yourself and all of the folks working on these projects to make sure the bids are tight and to make sure that we're getting a quality construction project with each project. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Definitely is a benefit to be mindful of the contracting and the specs that are written for each contract.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, that's, sometimes we hear about projects that come in over budget. So it is fantastic to hear that we have a number of projects that came in under budget that then allow us to be able to add more projects that are so needed. So
Correct.
thank you for that.
Yes, no
Can
problem.
you speak just a little bit to how these projects fit into the overall plan of facilities needs? I know when we passed the facilities master plan, there was a list of board priorities set at that time. But of course, that would come out of Measure C and Measure J and other funding sources.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we do know is during that, the whole process that we went through with LPA, during the time right before the Measure J bond passed, and then shortly, after we were still working on it, is we identified that we have a lot of need in this district, right? Measure J, the 150 million bond that we have, is just a small fraction of what the overall need is. That was identified in the needs assessment as part of that process. One of the things that is identified in the needs assessment is ongoing roofs, right? And so one of the things that I know is very important for the maintenance and facilities departments collectively is that our roofs are maintained. We did not have a plan, a predictive plan, a deferred maintenance plan for our roofs. And so when the board made that decision to add roofing to, the bond projects, it really gave us that availability to service the sites. I mean, we all know we had this, huge rain this past weekend, and we had contractors out, we had our carpenters out, our general maintenance, we had our glazer, everybody was out trying to hit the needs of the district. We know that our roofs are aged, and we know that we need to continue replacing them. And so while it's not specifically identified, if we're talking about some recommendations that were brought to the board, I think in 19 for Measure J, roofing was not necessarily identified. Measure J language would also cover roofs, right? But if we're able to continue this current year of these 5 roofs, and then as we look at the remaining 10 roofs for the future years, which is about, I think we're going to need somewhere around $21.5 million to finish out, because we've got some large campuses that still have need. That very well could be included in what we come back to the board with for Measure J recommendations, as well as potentially some other funding. And then the exterior painting project, while it might seem, a little bit superficial, one of the things that we know is that our sites are aged, right? The overall design of them. And so when we update the painting, the exterior look, and then along with some of these landscape improvement projects that we've seen, as well as what our district landscape department has really sort of jumped in and is really trying to improve the overall look, it just really, satisfies that curb appeal that we continue to hear as being, a desire of, the board and obviously the district. So they're not necessarily identified in what we brought forward. However, they do meet this ongoing. We were very careful that the recommendations that we brought forward were projects that weren't necessarily already identified under Measure J, but that are in those needs assessments.
Great. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing a similar report for Measure J when that comes forward as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. We look forward, we are working, and we look forward to bringing it forward soon.
Fantastic.
So what we would be looking for, assuming the board is responsive, is for action on the approved, on the recommended projects list. But I do again want to just verify that 15.3 in projects, we would be continuing to hold that 1.45 for College Park, still wanting to, Clayton Valley, too many C's, which would mean that we would be identifying another funding source to cover that so that we could complete the projects as identified.
Okay. Thank you. So we're looking for a motion to approve the updated proposed recommended project list.
Please.
Do they have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the updated Measure C recommended project list as presented with the change for the roofing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Motion by Trustee Mason, second by Trustee Mayo. I don't know why I'm getting the M names mixed up. All right. We'll take that to a vote. Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
And we're on the electronic voting here. Votes are in. The motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much for all your hard work.
We always appreciate the support. Thank you.
All right, great. Okay, that takes us to 12.2, Mount Diablo Unified School District Homeless Outreach Program for Education.
Yes, trustees, it was requested that we bring a presentation about the HOPE program. And so we have Mr. Wogan here, who was hired this year. And I know he and his team have been looking forward to get in front of the board and sharing some of the great things that they're doing within the HOPE program. So without any further ado, I'm going to let him and his team take it over. So Dr. Steffi Smith.
This is not the time to turn the mic off. This is the time to acknowledge a group of people who are truly dedicated to our students, in particular our foster youth and homeless. I'm very proud to present our school and community services under the direction of Dr. I gave it to you. James Wogan, Assistant Director of School and Community Services.
Thank you, and thank you for requesting this presentation this evening. Thank you. I'm James Wogan, Assistant Director of School and Community Services, and at the request of Superintendent Dr. Clark and the board, we're here to share information about our homeless students and the Homeless Outreach Program for Education, known as Mount Diablo Hope. So allow me to take a moment to have staff introduce themselves to you if you have not had the opportunity to see people with masks on here this evening. Can we start on my left?
Can you come up to the mic so people at home can hear it? Thanks.
There you go. My name is Mani Bansak. I am a social work specialist. I am the newest member. I've been in the district for quite some time, but now am joining this team, and I am overseeing the HOPE program, learning a lot about it, and placed at Olympic High School as well.
Good evening. My name is Evelyn Mercado. I'm the family school resource worker. I've been in the district for 21 years, and I love being in this program, helping our more HOPE students. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Vicki Connerly. I am the Senior Secretary for School and Community Services. This is my second year here. I do everything secretarial. I also aid and assist our lovely counselors and foster youth counselors and so forth. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris Carlin. I'm a social work specialist with our foster youth services program, and I am also the coordinator of the wellness center at Mount Diablo High School.
And good evening. My name is Kim Hendrick. I am a district-wide counselor for foster youth services and HOPE. This is my second year in this position, 7th year in the district, and it's a wonderful group of people and serving a wonderful population.
Thank you. Thank you. And perhaps I speak for all of us when I say that we are exhausted in a good way because we've been helping many students who are identified as homeless. And this is wonderful. I have some control issues, so I'm so happy that I can click the slide. We start with the definition of legally homeless because sometimes there are misunderstandings, or HUD has a different, public housing has a different definition than public education. So the definition was originally established under federal law, McKinney-Vento, and was subsequently reauthorized under Title I, and then the Every Student Succeeds Act. And it includes students who are doubled up, are students and families who are living in motels, hotels, shelters, trailer parks, students who live on the streets or in a vehicle, which we haven't encountered again this school year. And then some of our highest need students are unaccompanied minors. The students call each other couch surfing, moving from one home to another. And sometimes we have runaway teenagers with whom Child Protective Services is not involved, but who are on their own. So in terms of equity and shared vision, we're working hard to support our students. I will share with you that we met recently with a partnership agency an in Kuwait partnership to support recent immigrants who are coming from Afghanistan and other countries. And because they were homeless at some time this school year, they are our HOPE students. So HOPE is a word that you'll often hear at schools because sometimes people's anxiety goes up when you hear the word homeless, and they might say, oh no, I live with we lost our place due to foreclosure or eviction, but we moved in with my sister. We are not homeless. So especially in terms of cultural competency, and we communicate in many different languages, conveying the rights and protections that are afforded to students who are legally homeless is an important part of our work. We have seen and continue to see that homelessness has a lasting impact. It affects school attendance, school stability, the performance of schoolwork, grades. The risk of dropping out of school goes up by ×3 when students become homeless, and then lower rates of A through G completion. And I will come back to A through G completion and our dashboard indicators around just meeting graduation requirements that can be reduced for students who are homeless under AB 1806. Some of the other things that we see, and reason why it's so important that we collaborate, are health concerns. Almost all of our students have been exposed to trauma. We are trained in trauma-informed practices through the lens of equity, and as well as our social work interns and staff to support students who are facing current stressors and hardships and who have experienced trauma in their lives. We also see higher rates of substance abuse in our families and mental health concerns within our families. So one of the hard things about being new to a school, especially post-pandemic, that our students tell us is making friends, meeting other students. So I really just want to acknowledge our teachers, our secretaries, our classified staff members, who often greet students who are new to the school this school year, like it just came in last week, and help people to feel comfortable and to feel that we have a welcoming and inclusive school. It helps so much, and we hear it repeatedly, the gratitude for our staff members. Principals too, but especially the relationship with our teachers is very impressive. I'm sorry, here I've got one on my computer. I think these you might be familiar with. The rights is a lot of our work is centered around upholding the rights that are afforded under McKinney-Vento, including the right to immediate enrollment, even if a child doesn't have records. That doesn't mean that we never get records, but often we have assisted families. We have several families who are in domestic violence situations, who left in the middle of the night, who didn't have birth certificates, immunization record, etc. So they could be obtained, but just families didn't have them right away. So in compliance with the law, students are enrolled immediately and in front of teachers, and we're working to provide a sense of stability in our students' lives. Because our students are highly mobile, we also work hard with student services to ensure school stability, meaning the right to remain in the school of origin, even if we've had, some of our students have moved 5 times already this school year. So, so started in Concord, then Pittsburgh, then back to Concord, then Pleasant Hill. And the good news is that we worked hard to support school stability. So even when life was turned upside down and people didn't have know where they were going to stay next, they knew where they're going to school. And especially post-pandemic, that stability has been a great source of anchoring for our students. Thank you to Vicki Connerly, Evelyn, and staff for working hard to provide transportation and getting out public transportation to our students, but also sometimes just troubleshooting the logistics around getting to and from school. It's one of the biggest barriers. And so we use technology, but often we're meeting with our families, meeting with our students, figuring out how can we support families to get students to and from school. So we provide public transportation. We also work collaboratively with our special education department. And then we have shared costs with our neighboring school districts. If students live outside of our school district, for example, then it's in accordance with the law. But it's also just the right thing to do is sharing the cost so the kids can have school stability. It's money very well spent. Our students tell us and they appreciate our work. So Kim, Chris, this whole team behind you works really hard for each individual student to ensure access to all of our programs. A number of our youth shared again recently that athletics has really helped. And then at the Diablo Community Center, and of course you're invited, where kids are hanging out with masks on, so not too long, but with precautions, is to rock the clubs. Like if you're new to a high school and you don't know many kids, the clubs have been a great way for people to have kind of a low-key environment to get to know each other and to feel connected to the school. In terms of data, we have some, want to look at this slide can be deceiving because we're at a very high number for this point in time for October 1 to be at 280. If we ask Vicki probably how many HOPE students were identified today, you know, because some of our conversations, for example, a family from Riverview, in my conversation, I was asked to connect with a family. Then we learned that the family actually is legally homeless and so is now identified through our reporting procedures to HOPE. So 280 for this time of year, and when we're looking at receiving between 7 to 10 newly identified students each week, we're on track probably to exceed the 550 mark towards the end of the school year. Many, in terms of, and we'll open this up for questions, but a little under half of our students were identified through their behavior, meaning that it's that a girl was crying in class, and then and it's through relationships that we learned that they had been evicted and now have housing instability. Another student was sleeping in the classroom. We learned that they also were in transition, but they were also waiting for a parent to get home from work because she brought food from the restaurant where she worked for the family. So they still have a schedule where kids go to sleep. Mom gets home at about 11, then everyone eats, then they go back to sleep. So in terms of numbers don't tell the whole story because the severity of what we're seeing around the need for housing and home stability has gotten, housing, as you know, has become just more expensive. So it's very hard work, but you can see our trends here that they have fluctuated over the school year, but we're exceeding the kind of the national average of about 1%. We're already there at this point as of October 1st. This I can see on that slide, but not this one, data around how many homeless students by school level. We have other data breakdowns for your information if you would like. We have seen a tremendous increase in terms of trends of younger students, elementary school students being identified as HOPE, reported to HOPE. Am I going backwards? Oh, and by grade level, this disaggregates the data a little more specifically for you. Let me see if I can catch up right here. No, I can read it because it's right in front of me. Just pausing to say that we don't mean to these are numbers, but each one is an individual child who has faced tremendous hardships and stressors and who needs our wraparound support. And so we serve each one of our children. Equity and shared vision already guides our work. It underlies the reason why we set up school wellness centers, why we established a program called HOPE, why you asked us to support our foster youth as well. We have some alarming, this almost should come with a forewarning, like when you're about to see something terrible. And we say, hey, we want you to know you're about to see something that is alarming, which is the overrepresentation of African-American and Latinx students within our homeless population. As Dr. Ammar Sahili had said in trainings that he led before, we should not be able to predict which student populations and which groups will be in our among our homeless students. The same is true throughout Los Angeles, San Francisco, Oakland, here in Mount Diablo, San Diego, that the same is true. This overrepresentation is playing out and unfortunately continues to play out. So we're working to change the trajectory of dominant culture, white oppression, and the advantages that some people face and the hardships that other people are facing who are predominantly people of color. What we do see in terms of, I was just so hoping, having left the district and coming back, that this slide in particular is something that we can do something about. And working together, we can do something about this. Often these presentations we think is about them, those students, but really this is about us. This is about how we treat each other and who has advantages and who doesn't, and what people's experiences are. So I don't see this as a hope students tell us, I see this, more broadly as the way we as a society have institutionalized racism, advantages, hardships. So it is possible to do, we know it's possible to do something about these inequities that continue to persist, not only with our homeless students. So one thing we've learned, or another thing that we've learned, is together, not alone. So interagency collaboration, really a collaboration within the school district you heard about, but we also have some strong partnerships with local agencies. For example, Monty and I spoke with the new executive director from Rainbow Community Center, Kiku Johnson, who has led amazing trainings, but also they provided direct services at the Ignacio Valley High School Wellness Center at Mount Diablo High School. And virtually, they've been able to serve our LGBTQ plus community. Fred, we have actually the list of partnership agencies, the resources that we track, into which we evaluate and refer students and families. That happens every day. So we're always growing and learning, especially post-pandemic, of learning who's in person. And just shout out then to the Monument Crisis Center, strong partner of ours, as far as their food distribution, multi-generational supports, supporting the families to have access to healthcare, mental health, social services, and food stability. I will say that the one thing that we are hoping to experience at some point is one of the biggest needs is emergency shelter. So, and this has happened. Mother is on the phone with us, standing on a corner with a cardboard sign with her son who has special needs, saying she has nowhere to stay tonight. She called 211, she called coordinated entry, and can we help? So we reach into our own pockets, and we're, I'm in, we're in. Felicia's, contributed her personal dollars multiple times, bought kids shoes, your family, other things like that. So we work together with our agencies, but they're, in terms of the news that comes out around, the governor, he gets mad at me when I share this, but around, there's a lot of funding that is going out to construction and housing, and that's money well spent. But emergency shelter, we'll chip in tonight to cover a few nights in the Motel 6, just until we can try to bridge a family into a stable living arrangement. Also, in terms of this collaboration, that unaccompanied minors don't have a place to stay. So, and unaccompanied minors kids of color with disabilities are often facing incredible hardships and the resources that are needed. Hopefully we can work together with our, our partners, including our other public agencies, and we can make some movement in this direction. I shared with you a bit about many of the stressors and hardships that students face in terms of intersectionality and homelessness. We are seeing students who are vulnerable to sexual exploitation. We as a team in the practice of school social work have helped to extract students from being sexually exploited. That's very, very hard. There's really hard work to do, but I saw it with my own eyes, a young woman who was in school, not smiling exactly, but she had a mask on. So, but she was in school. And that took a concerted effort in collaboration with the principal, Kim Hendrick, school counselor, other people. So this we can come back to, but I did also mention briefly that students who have recently arrived into the United States, recent immigrant, we spoke with, it's the Office of Relocation and Resettlement. Sampson Street works with Jewish Family Children's Services, Catholic Charities, and Refugee Immigration Transitions, RIT. So we actually know that we have additional families coming to us, and they will be also Hope students, but they receive a great deal of support when they get here. I wish I could say like we're doing a lot of really good work, but is it enough? Is a question that we ask ourselves every day. In terms of the services that we provide, who you're looking at, we broke it up into quadrants, like the nurses were saying, what do you do? Well, so what we do in collaboration with Felicia and her team is that we offer counseling services. Those are often offered at school wellness centers, a good example of what Chris mentioned. In fact, great, he's a much more dynamic speaker, could tell you about just many partnership agencies and district staff operating out of one place. The students sometimes don't know us, but they know where to go. If a friend is in trouble, they know where to go. And that's a wellness center. So again, we have district personnel, but also partnership agencies with your approval of MOU operating out of our wellness centers. We provide specialized training for our interns. In terms of academic support, Kim Hendrick, school counselor, and others, we do tracking and monitoring, tutoring. Felicia, you're going to give me a hook any minute? Oh boy. Okay. Okay, so I'll say case management, care coordination. It's a skill set of school social workers, but not only. So often we are linking people to resources. Parents who, like a first grader not coming to school is not a first grader issue. Often that's an adult healthcare. It turned out to be the adult needed medical attention. And when he got it, then now we have a student coming to school. In terms of training and raising awareness, Felicia, Linda Pete, and I led trainings in August for new staff orientation, attendance secretaries. Felicia Stuckey-Smith recently asked us to present to school counselors, school social work specialists, behavioral health specialists. We also attend trainings, but maybe I'll just end by saying that if you've been doing this work for a while, like we think when we create an opportunity for other children and families to contribute to the well-being of another child who is in your same school, like we're doing the donor a favor. The recipient also really appreciates shoes that fit. But we think that in terms of social emotional learning, like a core component is giving back, is supporting people who are less fortunate than we are. And we're fortunate that that's been embraced by our school counselors. So this is an overview of what we do. You did see that as of October 1st, we had 280 students, and if you would like more information or details, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much for that comprehensive presentation, and it's so good to meet the whole team. Trustees, do you have questions? Trustee Anzari?
Thank you so much. I'm excited to learn more about Hope. And the only question I have is if a student is homeless today, meets the definition of homeless today, but comes back after winter break and doesn't meet the definition, do they still get to stay with all of the supports? Because
Yeah, actually, that's such a good question. So if a student or a family obtains stable housing, those rights and protections stay in place for the remainder of the school year. That school stability is very important. So it's once identified, there's no unchecking of the identification. So thank you for asking. Yes, school stability remains.
So then for the following school year, did they have to be re-identified again? So that's why it starts from zero?
Yes, we actually have a carryover similar to free and reduced lunch. We do the first 3 weeks, for example, into September. So that one reason we keep the identifier is so that we can uphold their rights. And because family situations change frequently, so they are identified again each school year. Yeah, also a good question.
Thank you. Was there a question over here? Trustee Keller?
You actually answered all of my questions. It was a very informal presentation as well as emotional, and I really liked how you highlighted the fact that teachers do find out that their students are facing homelessness by their behavior. And I think that does need to be taken into account, all teachers at all schools. So I appreciate that immensely.
Thank you. Did you have a question? Okay. I have one question, which is, you talked about the biggest need being emergency shelter. Where am I going to stay tonight? And reaching into your own personal pockets to help with that. I know in the past we've had the Hope Fund
We do.
within our district that
Yeah.
people can personally donate to, and you
Yes.
guys usually come back in December and tell us all about that.
Yes, exactly.
But is that a fund that can be used for emergency shelter, or is it limited
is.
to
It
food?
is. It is. The Motel 6 and Premier Inn, for example, all those expenditures get scrutinized by Felicia, so they require prior approval, but they also are scrutinized by our fiscal department. So it's a really good question. We do accept donations, and sometimes we're most often here during the holidays, we're getting a check. And that goes to clothes that fit, shoes that fit, athletic gear, but also those emergency housing, which is not typically covered. And we've been partnering with a faith-based community, so synagogues and churches have also helped bridge. So sometimes we purchase 2 nights, someone else gets 2, and someone else gets 1. Now we have 5 days, and our team gets to work on trying to locate stable housing.
Wonderful. Are you connected with the Nor Islamic Cultural Center as well?
Yes, actually, and retired principal Cheryl Colano has been instrumental in facilitating those connections. And trustee Linda Mayo continues to introduce, as I was new to the district, as I've been, and so our other board members, we appreciate it because you've let us know about programs that have emerged since the pandemic.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Well, we look forward to hearing during the holidays about how we can all contribute to the fund to make sure that you have those resources available to you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the time this evening.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep, and again, I just want to thank you all. I want to thank the team and thank you all for all the work that you do. It's very, very important and very special. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, we move to 12.3, report on status of conveyance of district-owned property at 1700 Oak Park Boulevard, Pleasant Hill.
All right, so our in-house attorney, Mr. Alvarado, is going to share this update about district-owned property, and I will turn it over to Mr. Alvarado.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Clark, and members of the public. It is a pleasure for me to be here today and report to you on the status and an update of a very, I think, rewarding project in which I have personally had the pleasure of working upon. As many of you know, the Mount Diablo Unified School District has been working in conjunction with the city of Pleasant Hill, with the county of Contra Costa, as well as with the Pleasant Hill Park and Recreations Department in a series of land transactions, purchase and sale agreements that are designed to facilitate the construction of the brand new Pleasant Hill Library. Tonight, I want to give you a status on the project as well as a status on the financial aspects of the project, which have resulted in quite a nice windfall for our school district. So the project itself is known formally as the Oak Park Project's strategic plan, quite a mouthful. But essentially, it is a series again of land deals between in collaboration with multiple agencies to facilitate the construction of a brand new library for Pleasant Hill, as well as a new park and recreations area, including athletic facilities, new parking spaces, and trail areas, as well as the construction of new residential housing in Pleasant Hill. The area where the project is being constructed is the area right next to the Pleasant Hill Middle School. And it involves district property that has been owned by the district and held by the district as a result of the closure of the Pleasant Hill High School, which closed over 30 years ago. As you can see here, this is an area, this will tell you what the ownership of the property was at the time of the start of the project. Now, most of the area you see in yellow, all of the area you see in yellow was owned by the county, and the area in blue was that is owned by the school district. Now, at some point, all of the area that is the 1700 Oak Park Boulevard property was owned by the school district, but again, that was transferred over 30 years ago. What remained to the district was that little strip of blue land that you see here, which consisted primarily, and as you can see here, you see those trees down there on the right side of the picture, was what's known as Grayson Creek. So that is land that is not usable for construction purposes. It is land that is only usable for park purposes, for drain runoffs, which is what the intent and what would actually be used going forward as part of the new construction project. Another part of the area that is of the part of the project that was owned by the Mount Diablo Unified School District is this area around that little round well, I guess the little roundabout. Thank you. And so as part of the project, there was a need for us to provide access to that area as well as easements to allow for the construction of facilities and utilities, as well as road improvements in the area, as well as access so that there could be a new parking lot that will be built there to provide access to the athletic facilities and to the athletic fields. At the conclusion of the first phase, which happened earlier this year, this is what the ownership of the property looks like. So as you see here, the green area goes to the goes to the Park and Recreations Department for construction of the new sports fields, as well as park areas, as well as some trails for use by the public. The blue area goes to the city of Pleasant Hill for the construction of a brand new library. And the orange area, which is of particular interest to us, remained in the ownership of the county. However, there was a proviso pursuant to an agreement between the county and the school district that would be sold off to land developers with 10% of the profits or the net proceeds going to the school district. Earlier this year, the area, the orange area was sold actually, and this is a final accounting of that sale. Over, if I can read here, $13 million was approximately the total price of the property that was sold. 10%, well, there were project costs of over $3.8 million. Now, those costs were not just simply for the sale of the property, but they were also involved all the costs associated with the entire project. Because the entire project was put together as a single project involving the multiple agencies. As a result, 10% of that goes to the school district, which is approximately $1 million, $969,675.43. The check is in the mail. And so we should be expected to receive those funds shortly. We had to wait for the final accounting of all costs, but we have confirmed that that is the actual amount that's coming to the district, and we expect to receive that within the next month or so. So at the end of the project, this is what it's going to look like. And one of my colleagues referred to it as a win-win situation. I think of it as a win-win-win-win situation. Number one, we get proceeds close to $1 million to the district, which we so badly need. We also get construction of new athletic facilities for our students right next to our campus. We get a brand new library, and we get construction of new single-family homes that hopefully will contribute to our declining enrollment and increasing that, and bringing new students to our schools. The library is on its way up, and we expect a grand opening as of 2002 spring. I expect to see everyone there for you to join. Everybody who contributed, and my thanks to everybody in the city, in the county, with the Parks Department who contributed to this, and of course to you, because it was thanks to your approval, thanks to your instructions, that we were able to proceed with this project, and that we are now having this wonderful project for our students in Pleasant Hill. Thank you.
Thank you. So exciting. Trustees, comments, questions? Trustee Mayo?
I just want to thank you for the extensive report. And I just want to advise everyone that there is a foundation in Pleasant Hill that is collecting funds for the library to provide additional items within the library. So it would be a worthwhile contribution. And the construction is amazing. It's not going fast enough for some of us because we drive by it every day. Though I will say the retention basins that they are putting in on those little zigzags, they have some retention spots there. They held during the storm, which was great news because the storm several years ago flooded that entire area. So we were watching that closely. So drive by. Also, the housing part has, I believe, one home completely constructed, so you can drive by and look at it, and a couple more are also near to completion. So it's moving along quite quickly. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Trustee Mayo. Any other comments or questions? Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, all right. So now that takes us skipping over board member reports, it's straight to superintendent report. Dr. Clark.
Thank you all so much. This has been just a very informative night. I'm very pleased with the with the comments we heard, and just with the different presentations, and just a lot of the progress that we are making. My report is going to consist tonight of going over our district assessment and accountability update. And so if I could get that, presentation up. Right. So, so again, I made the commitment to the board that this year I would make it a regular practice to share relevant data with the board, and whether that's around culture and climate data, which would be attendance or suspensions, but also our academic data and our social emotional learning data. And so, of course, this is a team effort. We have, great support in our assessment and research department, great support in our curriculum and instruction department. And every principal and every teacher within the district is contributing to this to make sure that we are properly assessing where our students are so that we don't make assumptions without facts behind it around what our students' capabilities are and what their progress is. I just want to, I want to preface this by saying we are not tone deaf. So we understand that our students have been out of school for some time. And so as they return, we are not inundating them with assessments, with long, lengthy assessments. So these are quarterly assessments that are, that are not long to do. They don't take hours or they don't take multiple days to do. They can happen in one sitting. And so with that, I want to share just the structure. This report has been posted, so it's open to everybody. And so I'm not going to go over all the details. I'm just going to go over the overall structure of the data set that we are collecting and sort of why we are doing this. So again, this is a direct result of our SIR report. And again, just in layman's terms, is that within our district, we do a lot of different things, and we do a lot of assessments, but do we have a consistent data set that we regularly share with the board, share with staff, share with students, and share with the community? And that was a hole that we had. And so you can see from our SIR report actions, here is where we received that direction, right? To conduct assessments, audit at school sites to determine the assessments and actual use, and so on and so on. Further in the SIR report, it does talk about reviewing previous district assessments and allowing for those metrics to capture the progress of student learning and to guide analysis for improved practices. So again, as we reflect on our practices, we need some way to measure that, to measure where are we in those different programs or different activities that we're doing with our students. And then again, it just talks about what impact these instructional practices are having on student learning. And so the first set of survey data that we're collecting is our social emotional learnings. And I like this term, a survey. It's not necessarily an assessment. And this is something that the students take on their own. So they're self-identifying how they feel about particular questions that they're exposed to. So I just want to point out that that for this first quarter, we did not do our TKK to second grade. They did not participate in this SEL survey. So I just want to point that out. And again, this is a district created survey designed to address the social emotional areas of development for self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship skills and decision-making. Those are those 5 competencies within the social emotional learning framework, the CASEL framework, as what we refer to. And so what we have here is basically how the students score. So this is the rubric that's applied. And again, I'm not going to read each one, but this is available for everyone to read. And this is where our students scored from grades 3 to 5. And again, this is a self-assessment. So just real quickly, 60% of the students reported high levels of SEL competencies, 31% mid-levels, 6.5% low levels, and 2.1% very low levels. So when you look at this circle graph at the school sites, the teachers and the administrators have the option to click on any one of those colors, and their students will appear in that particular band area. So again, we're not doing that at the district level, and this is, yes.
Was it anonymous though? The survey?
No, this is, it's basically, it's an assessment. We call it a survey, but it's an assessment. So if I'm a third grade teacher and this is my class, this is how my class scores. I click on any one of those bands and my students it's populated with my students. So again, this is 3rd through 5th grade, and then it's broken down. Again, it's a different chart, and then it's broken down in a line graph so that you can see each particular domain, how each group of students scored. Middle school, again, the numbers, remember with 3rd through 5th, that first number was about 60%. And so when you can see in middle school, it's more 46%, but still when we go down to the very, very low, it's still around 2% of that real area of those students who we're deeply concerned about. And again, the line graph, and it breaks down. You can see at the bottom here, middle school students report at the highest levels in social awareness amongst the domains and the lowest area in self-awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. I know maybe in the best of times with middle schoolers that might still be the case, but in the midst of what we're going through now, this is how they score. And then we have the high school, again, 41%, very low, right around 2%. So again, this is valuable data. And on October 11th, when we had the Professional Development Day, this is what staffs really worked on. And again, it's something new, so it's going to be a new process. So there's going to be some hiccups along the way. There's going to be some tech issues. There's going to be some resistance. There's going to be some pushback about why are we doing this. This is here to stay. We will be doing this 4 times a year, at least for the next 3 years. And we will report it out in a public meeting like this, and we will post this information so that all have access to it. So then that was our SEL portion. And so now we work into the academic portion of it. And so we do have a TKK assessment, and this gives you some background on that assessment. We're using the ESGI system, which is basically it's a type of assessment that we're giving, and it's preloaded, it's standards aligned, kindergarten knowledge, and skills assessments. And so the participants, all students in transitional kindergarten and kindergarten, take the ESGI TKK assessment for ELA and math. And also we have it broken down for our English learners as well. So I'll just quickly go through what that data looks like. It looks a little bit different, and I can't see what that says even if I put my glasses on, but I do have it on my computer, but I'm not going to go through each one. One thing I do want to notice if you're looking at this is the set of students, the total amount of students is combined with TK and K. So if you look at that, that's why that number looks a little larger. So, and then this is how our this is the DL assessment. So again, these are the English learners, emerging bilingual, if you want to call it. But this is the TK DL assessments, kindergarten assessments, and then again the DL assessments, and that's TKK. And then as we go to 1st through 3rd grade, again, these are diagnostics. So this is telling us really where our students are. And for this, we're using iReady for 1st through 3rd grade. And again, I'm not gonna read this over, but we're familiar with iReady, and many of our schools utilize it. But this is specifically for 1st through 3rd graders. These are those results, and so just to give just a brief, you can see 19% of 1st graders, 27% of 2nd graders, 49% of 3rd graders are on or above level in reading. So we can sort of see that. Again, this is the 1st quarter that we're giving this. So we would expect it's a diagnostic. So students are not going to be at mastery here, but as they finish, we would expect to see some growth. And then we do the same thing in math. And then as we move up to 4th and 5th grade and middle and high school, so all of our other students are doing the IEDs and the FIEDs. And so here's a little bit about it. And I really appreciate Ray for putting these slides in here that really talk about the assessment and then the participants in those assessments. And so again, we're laying the foundation. This is something that is not a may do, or if you feel like it, this is a must do. So I want to make sure that everyone is crystal clear on why we're doing this, on what it is, on what we're assessing and whatnot, and everyone has access to this information. And then again, I can't read that, but you can really see where our students are, where they scored, below standard, near standard, or above standard. That's sort of the 3 classifications that we're using. And so again, as you look at this data on those bar graphs at the bottom, the teachers or principal could click on that and get a list of students who fall in that area, so we can really direct our intervention or enrichment to those particular students. And so ELA, and then this is math. And then the third piece that we're going to look at is we're going to look at the secondary D's and F's. So the first set that we collect is we want to identify all students that have at least 1 D and 1 F, right? And so this is just one of those students who are who are in danger of failing. And so this is from the Q1 report card. And again, you can see those numbers. And so we can use this for targeted intervention. We can use this for, really that community of support around these students. If it's just 1 D or F, how can we get that student to get that off of their report card, support that student to show that improvement. And then our next set is we're looking at students who have multiple D's and F's. And so then you can also see that as well. So this may not seem like the most exciting thing, but this is extremely exciting when we take, looking at our suspension rates, looking at our SEL competency achievements, looking at ELA, looking at math, looking at grades. And what soon we're going to be able to do is pull out these grades are for our secondary students, but we're going to be able to pull out in the elementary level the rubric scores, so we can find those identify those 1s and 2s or those 1s within that rubric. Our elementary schools don't assign grades, but they assign rubric scores. So again, and then the last piece that is going to kind of round this out is the whole piece that we're doing on equity training with our staffs and really making our campuses more inclusive to all students, but really starting that work from the principal to their staffs, mainly their teachers, so that things like implicit bias and understanding cultural competencies and ways that we can further connect with our students to further support them. That will be kind of like that last final chapter in what our plan is throughout the year. And what's so nice about this is that this aligns perfectly with the LCAP. It also aligns perfectly with the SIR report. If the board, we're going to be bringing forward the SACE plan tonight. It aligns with the SACE plan, and it aligns with the superintendent goals, all of this. So this is something that we'll use to measure progress. We're still going to give AP exams. We're still going to, support our students through the SAT, PSAT. There's still those chapter tests. There's still those unit exams. So, I mean, we're still going to do assessments, but this is going to be that data set that we're going to use. What I shared here was the whole district, but as we go further, we can then pull out our homeless and foster students. We can pull out our African-American students. We can pull out our English learners, emerging bilingual. We can pull out any student groups, and then we can see how those students are progressing. And we don't have to wait for summertime of the following year when the dashboard comes out to see where we need to apply more resources, or are we getting a return on investment on the different programs that we're investing into. So I'm very excited about this. I know that Ms. Sachs and her team are excited. I see Margie and Samantha over there, and I know, they're working with their principals on this information. Principals are working with their department chairs, grade level leads and their staffs on a whole. I think it'll be important over time to really make sure that our parents are very proficient in what we're doing. And then also, hopefully, that students really understand it. I know when students first took the exams or took these assessments or these surveys, they were like, what are we doing? I'm not quite sure. But as they do them over, throughout the year, they will become more comfortable with it. And then we'll be able to get a better view on how exactly they're doing. So anyway, I'm happy to answer any questions as best I can. I do have staff here that can help me if I get stuck, but that is something that I was very excited to bring to this board.
Thank you so much, Dr. Clark. I think this adds a tremendous amount of focus to not only the district leadership and school leadership, but for us as a board. We can get distracted by so many other things that are happening in the world and that we're affected by, but student success is what we're about. And this enables us to have a framework to really stay focused on that. How are we helping these students? How can we really make sure to invest in the places that are the most successful and really reach the exact students that need the help that we need to make sure to give them. So thank you very much for this, for setting this this framework for the future.
And I just want to say that a lot of this is not new, because all of our school sites do some form of assessment, but what the problem was is that we were all doing different things, and so it's real hard to measure, or to find where we're very strong or where we're weak in if people are doing different things in a different way. So this at least is a consistent way to measure. So.
Exactly. Thank you. Let me open it up to trustees for questions.
I
Comments?
had a question.
Trustee Mayor?
So I'm presuming because it says one-to-one, that perhaps the TK assessment and kindergarten and first grade were one-to-one. I guess I'm pleasantly surprised, but I don't know the history of our TK assessments previously, because we've been very concerned about TK performance because they weren't in a preschool setting necessarily. That this looks fairly good. I wouldn't necessarily think that all kindergartners or TKs would know their letter sounds and be able to identify numbers 1 to 20, that sort of thing. And similarly, we were concerned about the levels of the kindergartners. And I'm presuming that these numbers look fairly good or fairly normal. Can you provide some insight?
Yeah, I mean, until we follow it up with the next one. Well, first of all, I want to say that in TK and K, it's always been a one-on-one assessment with teacher and student, and that's one of the challenges of being a kindergarten teacher or whatnot, trying to do those assessments while you got the rest of the class doing what they're doing. So that is something, but I think it's real important because I think a lot of assumptions were made just in the media about learning loss and so much that students didn't get. Students learned during the 18 months that we were out of physical school. They did learn. Now, whether they're sitting at home with a parent and they're able to sit down and read books and talk about letters and sounds and they're getting that type of instruction, or whether it was some students who did attend a daycare or a preschool where they were able to do this, or we can also see those gaps for those students who had none of that, right? And so I'm not going to say that it's above where we want it or it's below where we want it, but it's where we are, and at least we have a good snapshot of where we are, so we don't make those assumptions, either assuming that our kids have learned so much that they don't need any extra support, or that our kids haven't learned anything and then we're reteaching them stuff that they already know, and now they're bored and frustrated. So I'm very just excited that we now have data to start making some informed decisions.
And then my other question was, what was the participation, or was every student that's involved in the independent study program also tested similarly?
I believe so, yes. Yes, they were. And I do want to say that my expectation is that every teacher, every school does this. There were some hiccups,
right,
and that happened. So there were some some classes or whatnot, because of technology or because of one thing or another, they weren't able to participate. But it's the expectation that everyone does it. So independent study as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Trustee Zeri?
Thank you so much. Why am I like doing that? Oh, this is cool. This is cool data to see. Oh, and for all the subsequent reports of this, if it could just become a running bar graph so we could see the improvement or not, but that would be great. And then also what I would love to learn is once a student has a D or especially an F, they may become very unmotivated because it seems like it's impossible to dig out of such a hole. And so it would be great to hear in the future from successes of teachers who've been able to help dig those students out of the hole and motivate. Because I don't think it's like if you've got, whatever an F is, 50 or below, or 59 and below, that's just really, I can just see how that's not motivating, especially if you're not a super motivated student. And so meaning to dig yourself out, it seems like impossible.
Again, I think as we evolve, I think we're going to, at the secondary level, I think we're going to start having conversations around grading practices and around Fs and things like that. I mean, that really is where I hope this leads us to. But you're so right. We can't do anything about it if we don't at least start talking about it. And so this is a way to spark those conversations, because again, this is the staffs at the sites are going to talk about this data. So we would hope that if someone's seeing like a student has Fs, that there's a team around that student to try to support that student to get out of there and make sure that student's not losing motivation. And I'm confident that our teachers will work with kids and we'll give them other opportunities to make up work or to take a second shot at an exam or something like that. I mean, again, I'm not mandating that or anything, but I think through discussion and looking at the data and wanting to improve our students' performance, I hopefully, we'll continue down that path.
And I'm really happy to get the data. I don't know, President Condit, if your daughters come home and say, I had to take this stupid test today, because my daughter does. And so now I can at least go back today and say, but I got the data.
Well, we're lucky. I see Ray in the background there, but Ray's kind of our chef when it comes to data. And so if you guys have special requests, you give those to me, and then I'll talk to Ray about it, and then he can use that special mind he has, and he knows all the tools we're working with, and he may be able to pull some special reports. He's sitting back there cringing, and Jen is, but no, yeah.
Well, let me go to you. Along that same line, I just want to really appreciate that the IABs are here, because I know that they are a shorter assessment, right? But that they are very predictive of success on the CASP, and that they are free. They're not something we have to contract with the company to provide. They're free from the state. So I really appreciate that we're using that, and that I hope that it will be a guide to be able to hopefully improve our CASP scores ultimately, because we're able to pinpoint students through this process. Trustee Mayo.
So my question, maybe I missed it in the presentation. Where it says that students are at grade level or below grade level or above grade level, is that based on their performance at this point in time, or is it based on the end of the year, success?
So I would have to look at the specific assessment, because some of the assessments do, they adjust as you take it. And so those I think would be very reflective to this point in time, but they are, if they're looking at grade level, they're testing on specific standards. And so where are we in terms of grade level of demonstrating mastery of this standard? So it is this moment in time, not necessarily the end of the year.
Mastery of it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Right.
you. Because
Yeah.
they're is potential for these numbers to change
Oh, yeah.
one way or another dramatically by the end of the year.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments? Okay, I had one more thought. I just lost it. Oh, on the math, looking at the IABs, ninth grade looks like it needs to be a focus. So I would really be curious to hear what our plans are for improving our math scores. And if there's anything particular to ninth grade that will go into the strategy there based on this.
Well, again, when I started this, I said I didn't want us to be tone deaf. And if we think about where ninth graders are, they basically left in-person school in the 7th grade. And then all of a sudden they show back at ninth grade. And so we would expect ninth grade to be a little challenging. We would expect 2nd and 3rd grade to be a little challenging. And probably 7th grade to be a bit challenging. So yeah, so that's why we did the assessment, so we could see where we have to apply our resources to. So thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you very much. All right, I think that is all for that. Did you have anything else for the superintendent's report?
I'm just going to say that, you know, we clearly understand that these are difficult times. And, you know, as a governance team, I want to say that, you know, we really do set the tone for the district. And I just want to acknowledge this, you know, the grace and dignity that the you know, board has had during these times and these tough decisions. And we know that every last one of our employees, is putting all they have into their work. And these are just real stressful times within, you know, within our cities, within our county, within the state, within the country. And but the only way we're going to get through it is if we're working together. So just want to thank the board for their leadership during these very, very challenging times. And with that, I'll leave it alone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. Much appreciated.
Yes.
Okay, we'll keep moving on the agenda then. 15.0 is the consent agenda. The items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and will be approved, adopted by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any member of the board and acted upon separately. Board members, do you have any items that you would like to pull? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve consent?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Motion by trustee Mason, second by trustee Mayo. We'll take that to a vote. Trustee Fowler.
Yes.
Thank you. And the rest of us are voting electronically. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much. Okay, so that takes us on to business items. 18.1, review and potential approval of the Williams Quarterly Report for October 31st, 2021. Dr. Clark.
Yeah, if there's any questions on the Williams report.
Just that every year we see there's no report and then we get emails that say there's not enough textbooks for the kids. So I don't know where the miscommunication is, but it's out there.
So we just actually brought to the board a textbook sufficiency declaration. Actually, it was a resolution, I believe, or public hearing, actually. And really what that means is there a textbook for each student in each classroom and in each grade level? And so we actually get affidavits from the school sites in order to make sure that's appropriate or make sure that is confirmed. It's important to note that some sites have been lucky enough to have 2 sets of textbooks, one for home as well as one for school. As it's more and more difficult to get additional copies of the textbooks because they are so out of date. And also due to the fact we are trying to take a look at the funding and the budgeting as closely as possible, we are not able to always provide that support. So that might be where there might be some confusion because we can't just always guarantee that we've got 2 books for every student for every subject area at every school site.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion on this item?
I move that we approve the Williams Quarterly Report for October 31st, 2021.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Nzewi, second by trustee McFerrin. Any more discussion on this item? We'll take it to a vote. Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
Thank you. And the electronic vote comes out 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much. All right, and now 18.2 was pulled, so that takes us to 18.3, review and potential approval of the Coordinated Care Early Intervening Services Plan. Dr. Clark.
Yes, can I have the presentation pop up? And then Sachs and I are gonna, we're going to tag team this. I'm trying to find my notes because it's too small for me to read. So let me just pop it up on my computer. Eyesight is one of those things that go. So tonight we're bringing for you for potential approval is our SACE plan, and I know that Dr. Aguili went over the plan very, very thoroughly at our last meeting. And so I'm not going to repeat that, but I'm just going to hit some highlights here. So again, just we were identified for having for being disproportionate, and we put together this plan, and what this slide here demonstrates is the stakeholder review for root causes. And so in the staff, we looked at policies, procedures, and practices. We also reviewed our data, and we also looked at our initiatives. And when we looked at data, we looked at both quantitative and qualitative. And then we also worked with parents and guardians. We worked with staff, and we worked with community members at large. We've held several meetings. Some were well attended, some were not, but we did hold those, and we did receive very valuable input, which allowed us to complete the work that needed to be done. What I'm going to focus on here is I want to talk about the identified root causes. So, so when you have root causes, those are it's kind of when you look at that iceberg and you see just the tip of the iceberg and you want to know what's underneath. And it's the same with a tree, and you have the roots that really go down. And these were the root causes identified by all of the stakeholders. So first of all, because of this, our number one root cause was systemic racism and cultural dissidence. And this results in unsafe culture and climate that really lacks meaningful student relationships and culturally relevant curriculum, pedagogy, and culturally responsive practices, which plays out in disparities in discipline and plays out in, comes out through explicit and implicit biases and, different levels of access to the curriculum. And so that was one of our root causes that was identified. The other one is a lack of authentic partnerships with African-American families and the community. And so and over time, this has led to very strained relationships and distrust between African-American parents, students, versus the staff here at the district. Number three would be your lack of consistent implementation of discipline policies, procedures, and practices. So again, why is it that some students are punished for one thing and other students maybe have an intervention around that same thing? We've already seen our suspension data, our referral data, things to that nature. And so why are these being disproportionately towards one particular group of students? And so there is not consistent implementation of these. So one thing, the lens I want you to look at this as is the SACE plan, although it was generated through special ed numbers. The plan is for general ed. And so every school, every classroom, everyone needs to understand what's within this plan, because we have to make the changes in gen ed so that we can affect special ed. And so so again, those consistent implementation of those discipline practices are important. The same thing can be said with the inconsistencies of the care teams, right? So again, what type of interventions to the care team are we doing for different groups of students? And so the data and the focus groups and the research that we've done, they found that those are inconsistent throughout the district. So we really want to find some consistencies. And again, you know, this inconsistent thing is just, you know, it's just evident throughout, but lack of equitable and consistent implementation of evidence-based MTSS, multiple tiered interventions to address trauma and academic issues. So, so those were the identified root causes. So if you get what I said earlier about the LCAP and the SIR report, and now the SACE plan, when you look at these root causes, like this is what these causes are what really contributes to our inequitable data, our predictable data throughout the district. And so through this plan, we need to disrupt that. And so that's what those root causes have identified.
And so as we take a look at the measurable outcomes, they're directly related to the root causes that Dr. Clark just reviewed. And as you're looking at this list, there are some similar metrics and measurements that actually were just reviewed. Things such as attendance, things such as suspension rates, taking a look at climate surveys, those types of things. Because as we're taking a look at each of these root causes and really assessing where we are now and where we're going to be during the next quarter, the next semester, the next year, we're utilizing this to take a temperature check. And we're not just utilizing these measurable outcomes as, we're going to just generally take a look across the district at these measurements. We're really identifying these focus scholars and these focus schools to really make sure that we are targeting our efforts, targeting our actions to have the most impact on our student group that we've identified. And through the SIGDIS, it's our African-American students. So as you go through, not spending too much time reading every single one, the first one really is focusing on attendance. And really wanting to improve that for our students. Measurable outcome number 2 is really focusing on establishing African-American Parent Advisory Committees, or APACs, at our focus schools to make sure not only at the district level, but also individual school sites, our parents are feeling engaged as well as empowered. Outcome number 3 is talking about our focus scholars. And if they're engaged in the learning happening in the classroom, then suspensions are going to decrease. They're more engaged, they're feeling more successful. They're going to want to be in school and not find ways in order to probably want to leave that classroom. So that's another metric we're going to be taking a look at. Focus scholars taking a look at their foundational skills in reading. And so utilizing things such as ESGI, iReady, the FIABs, the IABs, grades, as long as they're standards-based grades, not grades that they brought their backpack and their homework, but really grades that are connected to standards mastery is something we're going to take a look at. Outcome number 5, really taking a look at our relevant board practices, procedures, policies, those sorts of things. And as was mentioned, some of our discipline practices, putting them certainly under the microscope. And then lastly, assessing the connectedness that our students and our families are feeling with our schools. Is that improving over time? Are these efforts that we're putting into place really coming to showing some really positive changes? The next slide kind of goes into the high leverage actions. And as Dr. Clark said, this was very much spearheaded by Dr. Wendy Aguirre, who did just a significant amount of work with our technical assistance team from the state, but it lives in general education. And so I really want to just put our equity department on notice, because they are just certainly going to be spending quite a bit of time focusing on these actions and supporting our school sites as they're embarking on these activities. So really looking at some additional folks, additional staff members paid out of the SACE funding in order to make sure that not only that we have the actions being monitored and put into place, but that we also have individuals that are going to the school sites. They're not just hanging out anywhere, but they're going to the campuses, they're meeting with teachers, they're meeting with admin, they're meeting with community liaisons in order to make sure that we are following through with what, the plan does describe. Intervention teacher, making sure that academic component is always something that's on point. A community liaison is a position that we're very focused on in order to make sure that we're building communities with our African-American community specifically. We have many community liaisons that are doing tremendous work all across our communities, and they're very, very powerful in the way they build those relationships and those bridges. And so we want to do the same thing moving forward in this work. I mentioned our focus scholars, as well as our training and implicit, explicit bias. We don't know what we don't know. Sometimes it's completely unconscious, and it doesn't mean we can't do anything about it. It means we just need to make sure we're putting up that mirror and someone's helping us really see something we may not always see in ourselves. Again, talking about our parent communities at the district level, as well as our school sites. Classroom observations and walkthroughs being utilized as a tool. It's certain things being talked about, being trained upon is one thing. Making sure that's actually getting into the classrooms, into those four walls is going to be incredibly important to move and improve things for students. And then, of course, lastly, surveying our families and students to make sure that they are really part of this process. And we've already started to do that with our SEL survey that we're actually going to be giving, 3 times a year. And actually in January, just a spoiler, we're going to be, we're creating one for the little ones. So K through 2. So we're thinking about emojis, thinking about little faces, characters, something of that nature. So we will certainly share that with you. What's really just, I think, important as we keep talking about all these different plans together is that they're all interrelated. And as we talk about data, the same data that Dr. Clark spoke about is the data that's embedded within the LCAP. It's the data in the SACE plan. It's the data that's talked about in the SIR. So, having been in Mount Diablo for quite a while, it's just the first, time that I really feel like there's been such cohesion and alignment with really our focus and where we're going. And all these plans, there's a nexus in the center, which is why we wanted to kind of remind folks of this slide. We might be talking about different plans, but we're talking about our students. We're talking about similar data points, similar activities that are very much going to be building on one another towards student success.
And one reason why, this plan is past due. So we could keep on working on it and keep refining it and keep doing focus groups and whatnot. But until we approve the plan, we can't move forward on any of those actions to get some of those folks on board. And so I think that really is important. I think that we have collected enough data to know that we have some holes in our system that need to be addressed. And we're eager and we're excited to get started in this work. Not that all of a sudden tomorrow we're going to say, okay, now let's start. I mean, this is work that we've already begun, like, creating this assessment plan, creating the equity work that we've been doing, the work that our instructional coaches have been doing, that principals have been doing with their staff, the teachers have been doing, care teams. So it's all starting to happen, but we really, this is the last piece to sort of pull it all together so that we can really start moving forward and making sure that we're supporting all of our students in multiple ways. And then this is just our last slide. Next steps, we want to review the plan. We're going to continue to hold further outreach events, including parent guardians of African American students, which we've already held several of those. Board approval, we're hoping for that tonight. And then we're going to submit it to CDE. And then once the plan's approved, then we can implement the plan. So we're open to questions. If not.
All right. Thank you very much. This is a very comprehensive plan with some really deep, important actions to be taken. Do we have a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion that we approve the coordinated care early intervention services plan that was presented this evening.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Motion by trustee Mason, second by trustee Nzewi. Any further discussion? Trustee Fowler.
I think this plan is great. One of the first things I did as a student board member, Michelle Loss actually helped me with this, but she told me to create a list of like all the goals I had as being a student board member. And one of them was to produce unity. And I think this plan is definitely going towards that step and producing unity and giving underserved communities an equitable way to basically have the same education and the same resources they can to be the best student they can be. And I think this plan does need to be put in motion because, as Dr. Clark was saying, we can always get more and more feedback on what we need to implement into the district, but I think it can't go forward unless it's approved. And I think it needs to be approved as soon as possible. Because students need this, and I can't wait to educate people about this and educate how it can help them immensely. I'm like beyond proud to be a part of this district and this board, especially because of this plan. And it's only October. This is amazing. So yeah.
Thank you, Trustee Fowler. Any other discussion? Trustee Nzeri?
Thank you again. I'm the only thing that stands between approving this plan, so I'll be quick, Trustee Fowler. A quick question for the staff that are hired that are mentioned, there's 3. Are those permanent positions or temporary or one time?
So what we would do is we would write the positions as if they were going to be supported with the SACE funding for the length of the plan itself. Always thinking about the ongoing costs of it. When we think about how our equity department originated, it was the SACE plan that started that. And then what happened was the district realized the power of having a group that's very much focused on our school climate and making sure that we have equitable actions and experiences for students. So the board will make that decision once the SACE funding gets readjusted, because really the goal is not to have a plan like this moving into the future. So.
And then thank you so much, Dr. Clark, for sending that message out to parents, which did increase the participation in the stakeholder meeting. And I think the struggles of getting people to participate and the method of outreach and whatnot was just another symptom of that one line of the root cause of disconnect between African-American parents and the school district and all the consequences of that. So thank you for building those connections.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Trustee Mayo?
I would like to thank all of the families and adults and students who were involved in the focus groups for bearing their emotional experiences and providing information to the district. I also want to thank the staff who spent untold hours in preparing for the presentations, making people feel welcome at the stakeholder meetings, and for personally showing how this status emotionally involved them. And they took it personally, and they want to ensure that this doesn't happen again in the school district. And I just appreciate their commitment and their involvement in all of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Shall we take this to a vote? All right. Trustee Felder.
Yes.
And the electronic vote is up. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who was involved in really the teamwork of creating that plan. Much appreciated. Okay, that takes us to 18.4, review update to board policy 5141.52, suicide prevention. Dr. Clark?
Just this R and an I over here, but we're open to questions on these policies that we're putting before the board for review.
Thank you. This is an information item only, so if there are any questions by the trustees.
I just have a suggestion that possibly we call it suicide awareness as opposed to prevention, because there really isn't any statistics that show that policies like this prevent suicide. But if you're aware of it and know what to look for, you might be able to intervene. So I don't see it as something that's preventive as much as awareness.
Noted.
Other comments or questions? All right. Thank you very much. So that's information. We'll come back at a future meeting. So we'll move on to 18.5, review and potential approval of board bylaw 9270, conflict of interest code.
Yeah, so we brought this policy to the board at our last meeting for a first read, and so now we're bringing it back for potential approval.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion on this item?
I move that we approve Board Bylaw 9270 Conflict of Interest Code.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by trustee Nzewi, second by trustee Mayo. Any further discussion on this item?
Just that I'd like the board to consider sometime in the future, us as a board making a decision that since they reference the fair political practices in here, and every other county board I've been appointed to or elected to, you're required to take the free conflict of interest test that's online for fair political practices. I've never been sure why school districts don't, but I'd like it to be something that in the future that as a board, we decide that we should do. It's every 2 years. You go online, you take it, you get a certificate. So just wanted to put that out there as a possible future thing for us to consider.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. So we have a motion and a second, so we'll take this to a vote. Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
And the rest of us are electronic. Motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you. Okay, so that takes us to item 18.6, review of update to board policy 4243.1, public notice, personnel negotiations. This one
Yeah.
is informational.
This is information, and these are three policies that will just bring more transparency to our negotiations process. And so we're just bringing this forward for a first read, and we'll bring it back at a later date.
Thank you. Trustees, any questions or comments on this item? No, I just want to appreciate that part of what this does is clarify transparency regarding personnel negotiations and the budgetary constraints so that everyone is clear when we agree to a negotiation, to a contract, to a salary increase, what the impact is on the budget and what other cuts may need to be made. So I appreciate that transparency in our board policies. Okay, anything else on that item? All right, so that takes us to 18.7, review updates to board policies and administrative regulations 3000s and 9000s. This one is also informational, as you can see by the large stacks of take-home reading that we have tonight. Are there any comments or questions on this item?
We're not going to bring these back for a couple of weeks. We're going to give you guys some time to read these, but.
Yes, did you want to make any comments about the process?
Well, I just want to say that we are in the process of updating all of our policies, and so it is a Herculean effort on the board's part and on staff's part. I do want to recognize Laura Juranic for herding a bunch of cats and getting us all on the same page and working very closely with CSBA. But when we're done with this process, this will just put our district in a better place and being totally updated with all of our policies. There may be some that we have to bring back at a later date just to adjust to really specifically meet our needs here. But we are doing a massive update, and so we understand that's challenging. And again, just want to apologize to the board for dumping so much paper on you all. But we will give you a few weeks to go over it.
Thank you so much. Any other questions on this? Okay. I know that it has been brought up to the idea of redlining every single policy. But I know when I've been reading through them, I've been able to just bring our public policies that are on Gamut up on the screen and be reading the new one and looking back and forth. So I think that's something that's feasible for us to do at this time. I know one of the reasons why it's taken so long to update these policies is it is such a huge undertaking and so much staff time and staff work. And so just want to appreciate all the efforts that have gone into it and will continue to, and we'll all be sure to do our homework on this one. All right, thank you. Okay, so that takes us to 18.8, review and potential approval of resolution 2122-33, notice of intent to grant easement to Contra Costa Water District for construction of water line on and access to district property for maintenance purposes. Dr. Clark.
And so if you recall, we had a presentation at our last meeting from the Contra Costa County Water District. And so now this item is back before the board.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion on this item?
I move the board adopt resolution 21/22-33, notice of intent to grant easement to Contra Costa Water District for the water lines at Strandwood Elementary School.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Motion by trustee Mayo, second by trustee Mason. Any further discussion on this item? Pretty straightforward. All right, we'll take it to a vote. Trustee Fowler?
Yes.
Thank you. And the vote is 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Thank you very much. Okay, 18.9, nomination of new member to the Budget Advisory Committee for the 2021-2022 school year.
So, Dr. Gonzalez has been working diligently to keep this advisory group fully populated. And so if there's any questions, she's here to respond, but if not, we are looking for approval.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this is my nominee, Brandon Scott, to the Budget Advisory Committee. Do we have a motion on this item?
I move that we approve the nomination of Brandon Scott, representative for Sharice Khan for the 2021-22 school year.
Second.
Thank you very much. Motion by trustee Nzewi, second by trustee McFerrin. Any further discussion? Very happy that this is being filled. Thank you, Brandon, for stepping up and volunteering your time. We'll take it to a vote. Trustee Fowler.
Yes.
All right. Electronic vote. All right, and it motion passes 5-0 with concurrence from our student board member. Welcome, Brandon Scott. I know you're out there. Okay, that is the last of our business items. So the only thing that the main thing we have left here is our board reports that got moved to the end of the meeting. Anyone like to start in particular? Trustee Nzewi?
I'll be truly quick. I didn't have time to write anything, so I'll try not to meander. The biggest things I want to talk about is one, I got my booster like right before this school board meeting, about an hour and a half before. And as I got the Johnson & Johnson, and I want to encourage everybody who got Johnson & Johnson, every one of you are eligible to get your booster. But oh my gosh, has my arm started killing me during this meeting. I don't remember it hurting like this. And I just keep moving and I'm like, stop moving because this thing hurts, but it's totally worth it to me. So I encourage you all who are vaccinated and eligible for a booster at this moment to get your booster. And then in other exciting news, our littles get to get vaccinated very soon. And I encourage everyone to read what the findings were that were presented last week on the most researched vaccine in the history of our world and vaccines. And the findings debunk so many of the myths that are running rampant among people concerned about vaccinating their children, that the findings of the study on children 5 to 12, they don't bear out. So that's really exciting. And I really look forward to the partnerships that our school district will have to help families access vaccines for their younger students, which I expect will bring much comfort to so many families. I just actually walking in the door today got a classroom exposure notice in my inbox. So we will get to reduce those because even our youngest students, who I know get them way more than the secondary students, will be vaccinated in the end of this, through the end of this semester, and we can come back like with superpowers. So that will be the end. That's the end of my report. I am fully vaccinated. Got my flu, my COVID. You should too.
Thank you very much, Trustee Nzeri. All right, Trustee McFerrin.
I'll be brief as well. I want everyone to know that that the ABAR committee meets tomorrow from 5 to 6 p.m. on Zoom. It'll be the first meeting of the year, so that's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. It's a meeting that's open to the public, so I encourage anyone interested to attend. Next week, the CAC meets on Tuesday, November 2nd from 7 to 9:15 on Zoom. I also want everyone to know that Veterans Day is a day off. It's coming up soon, November 11th, and then also for me in the district where I teach, the next day is a day off. So it's a day that I can go visit school sites without having to beg my colleagues to cover my classes or leave my school in kind of a crunch without a sub. So, so I am very much looking forward to doing some school site visits that day. I have kind of my old favorites of places that I like to go, but I would like to see some new places. So if anyone would like me to see something at their school, I would be glad to visit. So please reach out to me if that's the case.
All right, thank you very much. Trustee Mason.
My mother worked for the district for 26 years. She passed away Saturday night, but I want you to know that other than being my mom, what brought her more joy was working for this district than anything else. So that's all I wanted to share tonight.
Thank you, Trustee Mason. Trustee Mayo.
I would like to thank you for making the arrangements for the Pomo Indigenous Peoples presentation this evening. The ceremony took me back to my first experience when I attended the funeral for my paternal grandmother at the age of 4. I remember drums, singers, and twirling fancy dresses on a huge green lawn. These memories are dear to my heart and help me and my daughters stand tall to comments that we are not brown enough, or conversely, we are not white enough. I hope that everyone will take care in their assumptions, because people have feelings that many do not understand. I was able to attend the Mount Diablo Education Foundation meeting on October 18th. And then on October 21st, I attended the DLAC meeting and the CSIS plan meeting, one of the stakeholder meetings. And I valued the input that parents and adults shared during that meeting. In between those few meetings, as it seems, there were only 3 that I made for the district. There were 7 PTA meetings and trainings that were held to improve the leadership talents within our school district and throughout Contra Costa County. For all of our nonprofits, a tax filing deadline is approaching on November 15th, and it is critical for our groups to maintain their nonprofit status by filing 3 reports. So please encourage all the nonprofits to meet that deadline. And during the last 2 weeks, I attended a memorial service for Dr. Linda Rondeau. For those of you that know her, she was a district administrator, a fire plug full of energy, very exciting to be around. And she closed out her career as superintendent for Pittsburgh Unified School District. It was a pleasure to attend the memorial service, and I can just say Linda would have loved it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee Fowler.
So I did attend one of the African American parent meetings that Dr. Clark ran, and it was a great listening session to hear from parents. I know if my parents were there, or at least if my mom was there, she definitely would have said the same things. And we're going to do something like this at the Black Student Union meeting at College Park next week. I've invited Dr. Clark to come and speak, so I'm very excited for that. And at the last Black Student meeting, it was last Friday, and we discussed the use of the N-word in literature, and we invited all the English teachers to come and listen. Some of the themes were that we need more representation in literature. We should learn about the struggles of minorities regarding their American dream, other than books like Great Gatsby. As well as teachers need to take the time to educate their students about the significance and the history behind the N-word and why it should not be said aloud. I think it comes with a lot of lack of education on why students who are not African American or Black do say it. And it's not that, in a sense, they don't know why. So it's not fair to be upset with them just because they don't understand why. So I think we really need to take that time to educate them on why this is not okay. And that does come from teachers as well. And some of the outcomes were that 2 English teachers who did use to say the N-word out loud are not going to anymore. So that was a big success. And some teachers this year are not choosing to read To Kill a Mockingbird. Instead, they're teaching The House on Mango Street. And as well as juniors, junior teachers are teaching the book The Hate U Give. And a new book list is being created as well to look at regarding our curriculum to implement into the district. And I'm also meeting with some of the high school principals to discuss basically the meeting I had through some of the equity team. So that's great. And regarding the student advisory committee, I'm almost there. First meeting is very soon. I've gotten a few responses. I've emailed principals to let their students know to please check their email. But we're looking at Wednesday, November 3rd from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And I've let Laura know earlier today because I finalized it today. And I would love for all of you to be there, and I'll make sure the public knows as well.
Thank you, Trustee Fowler.
Can I make one quick comment?
Yes, you may.
I will not attend because hopefully my daughter will attend, and she will not attend if I attend. So that will be the reason of my absence.
Her schedule is busier than mine. Very good. Well, I think this is an incredible example of why it's so fantastic to have a student board member and just student leaders throughout our district. When students speak about what is important, you can make change. And so the fact that those teachers were educated and are making a change, and the school is making some changes based on that, is really wonderful. And I think it's an example of what, happens in so many places in small areas throughout our district. And through all of these plans, we can bring this all together and make a bigger change district-wide. So really appreciate all of your work with the BSU. Okay, so my board report, I attended a couple of things. The California Reading Coalition Summit, which if you missed it, you can still watch recordings and you can still look at their reading report card at careads.org. Really incredible work that they're doing on the science of reading, and they look at reading scores across the state of California and what are districts doing that are getting it right, and what can we learn from that. So great resource, especially looking at our reading scores. I got to attend the career fair hosted by Concord High and the MDUSD Career Pathways, and that was super fun. They had a giant crane. They had a steel pole you could try to climb. I did not attempt that, but Mr. Trowbridge made a really good effort, I'll have to say. I did get to try out the digger. That was really fun. And the simulated welding, which is much harder than it looks. And haircuts were very, very popular. The Urban Barber College, is that what they're called? So many people got haircuts that day, right before they got on the bus to go back to their school. So students from all across the district came to this career fair, and just huge shout out to the building trades and all the organizations that were there that were really providing this hands-on things that you could try, but also information about, really great well-paid jobs and apprenticeships that you can get sometimes right out of high school when you're 18. So that was just really exciting. Thank you to Concord High for hosting that. I also got to pop in briefly with the Ignacio Valley High School Femineers engineering program that is just starting up. Really exciting opportunity, particularly for girls and non-binary who are interested in engineering. So that you'll be hearing more about, I'm quite sure. And then I did attend the Contra Costa County District for meeting on drawing their redistricting maps. Really appreciate that some of the options made an effort to line up our county district trustee areas with Mount Diablo School District boundaries. So taking that into account. So that is something the public is welcome to continue to be a part of. Sharing your thoughts on how they should do that. And I know we'll be finding out eventually whether our trustee areas have made any changes, need to make any changes based on the census. Lastly, I do want to recommend the EdSource article that's called Projected K-12 Drops in Enrollment Pose Immediate Upheaval and Decade-Long Challenge. Because I know there's people who think we definitely have plenty of money to do things. And I think we did have a report here at our last board meeting about the fiscal cliff, that where it's not only Mount Diablo that's finding this, but really statewide, we have some massive declines in enrollment that were already happening. And then in the past year, some major decreases in enrollment, which also means decreases in funding. So understanding what that means to us and to the state is something that we all need to grapple with. One place you can learn more about education funding across the state is ed100.org. It's a free site. They provide these little 5-minute lessons. They're in English or Spanish. And parents, if you log in and create a login, and put in your school, you can actually see who else from your school is on Ed100 and like connect with each other and chat about it. And apparently they also periodically give out prizes to people who are active on the site. So it's a great resource. Lastly, just shout out congratulations to the students in our district that achieved a perfect score on the AP Computer Science exam, the rare feat that makes them one of only about 350 students in the world who earned every possible point on these exams. The names that I know of so far are Jennifer and Evan from Northgate and also Asher from College Park. So if there's any more out there, let us know. But that's a really fantastic achievement. So that is all from me. So that is all for board reports this evening. And that takes us to, did anyone want to say anything on future agenda items? 21.1, did you have anything, Dr. Clark, on that? Okay. All right, so with that,